Hey story enthusiasts! This is Harry What If's bringing you another gem. In this video, we present to you what if Luna Lovegood was actually the last descendant of Merlin and she chose Harry as her eternal king. If you enjoy these stories as much as we enjoy sharing them, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, The Awakening. Luna Lovegood had always seen things others couldn't. Raxperts dancing in people's ears. Nargles hiding in mistletoe. The faint shimmer of magic that hung around certain objects like morning mist. But lately, what she saw terrified even her. The Department of Mysteries hadn't changed much since she'd first visited it as a teenager. Still dark. Still confusing. Still filled with impossibilities. Luna liked impossibilities. They made more sense to her than most people. Lovegood, careful with that. Croaker barked as Luna carried a small golden orb across the time room. Luna nodded absently, her protuberant silver eyes fixed on the object in her hands. It pulsed with a heartbeat-like rhythm only she could feel. 3 years as an unspeakable had taught her that the most dangerous magical artifacts rarely looked threatening. This one resembled nothing more than a small golden snitch without wings. "I'm always careful," she replied, her voice maintaining that dreamy quality that drove her coworkers mad. "It's just excited today." Croaker rolled his eyes. "Just get it to containment. The minister wants our report by Friday." Luna continued across the room, bare feet silent against the cold stone floor. She'd never liked shoes in the department. They muffled the subtle vibrations that helped her navigate the ever-shifting rooms. The orb warmed in her palms. Pleasant at first, then uncomfortable, then, pain shot through her body. The orb blazed with golden light that poured between her fingers. Luna didn't scream. Her mouth opened, but what emerged wasn't her voice. Emery's Awakens thundered from her throat in a language she shouldn't understand but somehow did. The light exploded outward. Luna felt herself falling, but instead of hitting the floor, she kept falling through visions, a bearded man in blue robes standing beside a lake, staff raised to the sky. A sword gleaming in firelight. A round table where figures sat in shadow. A crown hovering over an empty throne. A pair of green eyes she knew well. When Luna came back to herself, she was sprawled on the floor. The orb had cracked open, revealing nothing but dust inside. Croaker hovered over her, face pale. "What the hell was that, Lovegood?" "I need to leave," Luna said, pushing herself up. Her limbs felt electric, magic crackling beneath her skin like she'd swallowed lightning. "Now. You're not going anywhere until we figure out." Luna didn't wait for him to finish. With a flick of her wrist, not even bothering with her wand, she sent Croaker stumbling backward. The magic came effortlessly, more powerful than anything she'd ever channeled. "I'm sorry," she said, genuinely apologetic. "But there's someone I need to see." She turned and ran, hearing shouts behind her. The department's security measures activated, doors sealing, alarms wailing. Luna didn't slow down. She moved with newfound certainty through the labyrinthine corridors, the magic guiding her steps. When she reached the circular entrance chamber, she placed her palm against the wall. Blue light spread from her fingertips, forming intricate patterns across the stone. The exit door swung open without resistance. Luna stepped into the ministry atrium and disappeared with a crack before anyone could stop her. Harry Potter was having a perfectly normal Tuesday afternoon when Luna Lovegood appeared in his living room with a thunderclap of uncontrolled apparition. He jumped to his feet, wand drawn instinctively, tea sloshing over the rim of his mug. 3 years after Voldemort's defeat, his reflexes remained sharp. "Luna?" "What the, Harry?" Luna's voice sounded different, still dreamy but underlined with urgency. Her silver eyes glowed with literal light. "I need your help." Harry lowered his wand but didn't put it away. Luna looked like herself, radish earrings, cork necklace, mismatched clothes, but something about her had changed. Magic radiated from her invisible waves, making the air shimmer. Are you hurt? What's happened? I'm not entirely sure, Luna said, swaying slightly. But I think I might be Merlin. Harry blinked. You, what? Well, not Merlin exactly. But something to do with him. She took a step forward and nearly collapsed. Harry lunged to catch her, tea mug dropping forgotten to the carpet. The moment his hands touched her arms, electricity shot through him. His scar, dormant for years, burned white-hot for an instant. Images flashed through his mind, ancient stones, starlit skies, a golden crown. Bloody hell, he gasped, steadying her. What was that? Luna stared at him, her glowing eyes wide. You felt it too. Oh, that's very interesting. I think you're part of this. Part of what, exactly? Harry guided her to his couch, noticing the magic still crackling around her like static electricity. I was at work, handling an artifact, nothing special, just cataloging. Then it activated. I saw things, Harry. I heard a voice saying Emery's Awakens. That's Merlin's other name. Luna, maybe we should get you to St. Mungo's, no. The force of her response made the windows rattle. She took a deep breath. Sorry. But no hospitals. No ministry. I need to understand what's happening first. And I need you. Harry ran a hand through his perpetually messy hair. Okay. Let's figure this out. But first, he cast his Patronus. To Hermione Granger, Luna's at my place. Something magical happening. Come quick. Bring research materials, not authorities. The stag bounded away through the wall. Harry turned back to Luna. Now, start from the beginning. Luna did. She described the artifact, the visions, the voice, and her miraculous escape from the Department of Mysteries. I've never done magic like that before, Harry. No wand. No incantation. Just, will. She demonstrated by lifting her hand toward his fallen mug. It rose smoothly into the air, the spilled tea pulling itself back inside. That's wandless magic, Harry said, impressed despite his concern. Not impossible, but, not like this, Luna interrupted. It doesn't even feel like effort. And there's more. She hesitated. When I was having those visions, I saw you. Harry felt a chill. Me? Why? I don't know. But I knew I had to come to you. It felt right. Luna's glow had dimmed slightly, but her eyes remained bright. My father used to tell stories about Merlin. Not the ones in the history books. Old stories passed down in our family. I never thought much about them. Your family has stories about Merlin? Luna nodded. Dad said we were connected to him somehow. I thought it was just one of his fancies. She twisted her cork necklace nervously. We need to go to my house. There might be answers there. The fireplace flared green before Harry could respond. Hermione stepped through, arms full of books, hair wilder than usual. What's happening? She demanded, then stopped short at the sight of Luna. Oh. She can see it too, Luna observed. Hermione set down her books. Luna, you're glowing. Actually glowing with magical energy. She says it has something to do with Merlin, Harry explained. Hermione's eyebrows shot up. The Merlin? Arthur's wizard? The very same, Luna said. Though historically speaking, he was much more than just Arthur's wizard. He was, she broke off as another surge of magic visibly pulsed through her. The lights flickered. A book flew off Harry's shelf. We need to move, Harry said, making a decision. Luna thinks there might be answers at her father's house. And I don't think keeping her in the middle of London with unstable magic is a good idea. Hermione nodded briskly. I'll come too. Luna, can you travel safely? I think so, Luna said. The magic isn't fighting me. It's more like, it's waiting for something. Harry didn't like the sound of that. Let's go then. Before the ministry tracks you here. The Lovegood house had been rebuilt after the war. Still cylindrical, still peculiar, but less tower-like than before. Xenophilius was away on an expedition in Norway, hunting something called frost pixies, which suited their purposes perfectly. Luna led them inside, where the decor was exactly as bizarre as Harry remembered, plants hanging upside down from the ceiling, strange contraptions whirring on tables, walls painted with fantastic creatures. Dad's research room is upstairs, Luna said. He keeps family records there too. They climbed the spiral staircase to the top floor. Luna waved her hand, and the door unlocked itself without a spell. Hermione shot Harry a concerned look. The room beyond was cluttered but organized in a system only a Lovegood could understand. Scrolls, books, artifacts, and specimens lined shelves that covered every wall. A massive desk dominated the center, covered with papers and quills. The family records are here, Luna said, approaching a silver chest decorated with strange symbols. She placed her palm against it, and the symbols glowed blue, the same color as the magic she'd used in the Department of Mysteries. The chest opened. Inside lay ancient-looking scrolls and a small wooden box. I've never seen inside this before, Luna admitted. Dad said it would open when it needed to. Hermione looked skeptical but remained silent as Luna removed the box. When she opened it, they all gasped. Inside lay a ring. Simple silver with a blue stone that seemed to contain swirling galaxies within its depths. Beside it was a folded parchment, yellowed with age. Luna unfolded it carefully. The writing was faded but legible. To the awakened heir, she read aloud. If you read these words, the dormant blood of Emrys flows strong within you once more. The signs will be clear, magic beyond common measure, visions of what was and what may be, and the call to seek your eternal king. Luna paused, looking up at Harry with those luminous silver eyes. Eternal king? Harry asked uneasily. Luna continued reading, since the days of Arthur, our line has waited for the magic to reawaken in fullness. Each generation carries a spark, but only one in many centuries bears the flame. You are that flame. But Merlin's magic requires balance, the eternal king to the sorcerer's power. Without this balance, the magic will consume you. With it, there are no limits to what you might achieve. Hermione had begun frantically flipping through one of the books she'd brought. There are references to Merlin's bloodline in wizarding genealogy texts, but it was thought to have died out centuries ago. Apparently not, Harry said, watching Luna closely. Luna picked up the ring, examining it. It says I need to find my eternal king. Someone to balance the magic. And you think that's Harry? Hermione asked. Because you saw him in your vision? Luna nodded slowly. It makes a kind of sense. Our magic has always recognized each other, hasn't it, Harry? Harry thought about it. There had always been something different about Luna, the way she saw through pretenses, the way she understood things without explanation. He'd felt comfortable with her instantly, in a way he rarely did with others. What exactly does an eternal king do? He asked cautiously. The parchment says there are instructions in the family grimoire, Luna said, setting down the ring and moving to the chest again. She pulled out a massive book bound in midnight blue leather. When she opened it, dust motes danced in the air. While Luna and Hermione pored over the ancient text, Harry found himself drawn to the window. The afternoon sun was setting, casting long shadows across the garden. He felt strangely calm despite the bizarre situation. If someone had told him this morning he might become the eternal king to Luna Lovegood's Merlin heir, he would have laughed. Now, it seemed almost inevitable. Harry, Luna called. I think we found something. He joined them at the desk. The grimoire displayed illustrations of a ritual, a man and woman standing within a circle of stones, hands clasped over a sword thrust into the ground between them. The binding of crown and staff, Hermione read. This looks like ancient magic, Harry. Seriously old and powerful. It says the ritual must be performed at a place where magic naturally concentrates, Luna explained. A convergence point. And it must be done before the air's magic becomes unstable. How long do we have? Harry asked. Luna's expression turned serious. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like long. The magic is growing stronger by the hour. As if to emphasize her point, a nearby glass paperweight shattered spontaneously. Luna winced. Sorry. We need a convergence point, Hermione said, practical as always. Stonehenge would be ideal, but it's too public and monitored by the Ministry. Harry thought for a moment. What about the Forest of Dean? There's a stone circle there, not far from where we camped during the Horcrux hunt. I felt the magic there, even then. Hermione nodded slowly. It's not as powerful as Stonehenge, but it might work. And it's isolated. We should go now, Luna said, closing the grimoire. Night is better for these things anyway. Magic flows more freely after sunset. Harry took a deep breath. So I'm just supposed to agree to become your eternal king? Without knowing what that really means. Luna looked at him, her expression suddenly focused and clear, no dreaminess at all. I wouldn't ask if there was another way, Harry. And I wouldn't ask anyone but you. The simple sincerity in her voice decided him. All right. But we bring supplies and wands. And Hermione comes as backup. Hermione already had her beaded bag out. I never unpacked this properly after the war. We should have everything we need. Luna slipped the ring into her pocket and gathered the grimoire. We'll need one more thing. A focus for the ritual. She moved to a cabinet and removed a cloth-wrapped bundle. When she unwrapped it, Harry saw a dagger with a silver blade and handle shaped like a dragon. Family heirloom, she explained. Dad always said it was Merlin's, but I thought he was exaggerating. And now? Harry asked. Luna smiled faintly. Now I'm not so sure. The Forest of Dean was dark and silent when they arrived. Harry led them unerringly through the trees, memories of their Horcrux hunt guiding his steps. Luna walked beside him, her natural glow providing enough light to navigate by. Hermione followed, wand at the ready. It's just ahead, Harry said after they'd been walking for nearly an hour. The trees thinned, revealing a small clearing where 7 stones stood in a rough circle. They were unimpressive compared to Stonehenge, just waist-high lumps of weathered rock that most muggles would walk past without notice. But Harry felt it immediately. Magic hummed in the air here, making his skin prickle. From Luna's sharp intake of breath, she felt it too. This will work, she said with certainty. Hermione busied herself setting protective enchantments around the perimeter. Just in case. We don't want to be interrupted. Luna placed the grimoire on a flat rock and opened it to the ritual page. The ancient ink seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. She removed the dagger and ring, setting them carefully on the ground in the center of the stone circle. The ritual is simple, she explained to Harry. We stand opposite each other. I place the ring on your finger, acknowledging you as my king. You place the dagger in my hand, acknowledging me as your sorceress. We speak the words, and our magic does the rest. Harry swallowed hard. And after? What changes? According to this, our magic becomes linked. You'll be able to channel and direct the power of Merlin's line. I'll be able to access it without being overwhelmed. Luna paused. There's something else. The bond is permanent. Permanent? Harry's voice rose slightly. Like, marriage permanent? Luna tilted her head. Not exactly. More like a magical partnership. But yes, it lasts a lifetime. Harry looked at Hermione, who had finished the protective enchantments and joined them. "It's your choice, Harry," she said quietly. "But Luna needs someone, and the magic chose you for a reason." Harry nodded slowly. 3 years after defeating Voldemort, his life had settled into comfortable monotony. Ministry job offers he kept declining. Public appearances he avoided. A stalled relationship with Ginny that had fizzled out from mutual disinterest. Perhaps this was why, some part of him waiting for this moment. "I'm in," he said finally. "What do we do first?" Relief washed over Luna's face. She handed him the grimoire, pointing to his part of the ritual. Then she positioned herself across from him in the center of the circle, the dagger and ring between them on the ground. "I'll begin," she said. Luna closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they blazed with silver light. She raised her hands, and magic crackled visibly around her fingertips. "By the blood of Emrys that flows in my veins, I seek balance. I seek my anchor. I seek my king." She bent down and took the ring, holding it up to the moonlight. The stone caught the light and seemed to amplify it, casting blue reflections across her face. "Harry James Potter, I offer you this crown of stars, forged in the dawn days when magic ran wild. Will you accept it and stand as my eternal king, to balance and direct the power I hold?" Harry felt the weight of the moment. This was no small thing. But looking at Luna, brave, strange, wonderful Luna who had always believed in him, he found no hesitation in his heart. "I will," he said clearly. Luna stepped forward and slid the ring onto the third finger of his right hand. The moment it touched his skin, power surged through him, not painful, but intense, like diving into an icy lake. He gasped, feeling magic settle into his bones. Following the ritual, Harry bent and picked up the dagger. It hummed in his grasp, as though recognizing him. "Luna Lovegood, Descendant of Merlin," he recited from memory, the words somehow feeling right. "I offer you this staff of wisdom, symbol of the power you wield. Will you accept it and stand as my eternal sorceress, to call upon the ancient magics with wisdom and care?" Luna's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I will." Harry placed the dagger in her outstretched palm, closing her fingers around the hilt. The moment their skin touched, magic exploded outward from the center of the circle. Blue-white light spiraled around them, connecting them with visible threads of energy. Together, they spoke the final words of the ritual, two as one, crown and staff, king and sorceress, bound by magic older than memory. So it was. So it is. So it shall be. The light intensified until Harry could see nothing but Luna's face before him, her silver eyes meeting his green ones. He felt something change within him, a connection forming, a door opening between their magic. Then the light collapsed inward, drawn back into their joined hands, leaving them standing in darkness once more. For a moment, neither spoke. Harry felt different, more grounded, more aware of the magic flowing around him. He could sense Luna's presence in his mind, not as thoughts but as a warm certainty that she was there. "Did it work?" Hermione called from the edge of the circle, breaking the silence. Luna smiled, a real smile that transformed her dreamy face into something radiant. "Yes. It worked perfectly." Harry looked down at the ring on his finger. The stone now glowed with a subtle inner light. "I feel connected to you." "That's the bond," Luna explained. "It will grow stronger with time." Hermione approached cautiously. "You both look different. There's an aura around you." Before either could respond, a twig snapped in the forest beyond their protective circle. All three turned, wands raised instantly. "Someone's coming," Harry whispered, feeling a strange new sense that warned him of danger. Figures emerged from the trees, 5 of them, wearing dark robes with hoods that obscured their faces. They stopped at the boundary of Hermione's protective enchantments. "The heir has awakened," one called, voice magically distorted. "And chosen her king. The hollow court extends its greetings." Who are you? Harry demanded, stepping slightly in front of Luna. The lead figure laughed coldly. We are the keepers of the true legacy. For centuries we have waited for Merlin's heir to reveal themselves. What do you want? Luna asked, her voice steady despite the tension Harry could feel through their new connection. Why, to welcome you, of course. And to test if you are worthy of the power you've claimed. The five raised their wands in unison. Jets of purple light shot toward the protective barrier, striking it simultaneously. The shield shimmered but held, barely. They're trying to break through, Hermione said, reinforcing her spells. That's not standard magic they're using. Harry felt something stirring inside him, the power from the ritual, responding to the threat. Without thinking, he raised the hand wearing the ring. Get back, he ordered the attackers. To his astonishment, a wave of force burst from his hand, rippling through Hermione's shield without disturbing it and slamming into the hooded figures. They flew backward, tumbling into the underbrush. Harry! Hermione gasped. How did you? I don't know, he admitted, staring at his hand. Luna placed her palm against his back. We're connected now. My magic responds to your will. The attackers were regrouping, picking themselves up from the forest floor. Impressive, their leader called. The king shows promise. But this is just the beginning. They raised their wands again, this time aiming at the ground beneath the stone circle. The earth rumbled ominously. Luna's eyes widened. They're trying to disrupt the convergence point. If they succeed, she didn't finish. Acting on instinct, Harry grabbed her hand. The moment their fingers interlaced, he felt their magic merge, his direction, her power, flowing together like two rivers joining. Push back, he said simply. Together, they thrust their free hands forward. A blue-white shield expanded outward, not just blocking the attack but enveloping the hooded figures completely. They struggled against it as it contracted, pinning their arms to their sides. Who are you? Harry demanded again. What is the Hollow Court? The leader struggled against the magical restraint. We serve the rightful magical order. The one Merlin corrupted with his interference. Morgana, Luna whispered, the name coming to her lips unbidden. You follow Morgana's path. The true path, hissed one of the others. Magic unfettered by your arbitrary rules of balance. Harry felt their combined magic straining to maintain the shield. We can't hold them much longer, he murmured to Luna. She nodded. We need to leave. Now that the ritual is complete, we can study what this all means somewhere safer. I'll handle this, Hermione said, stepping forward with determination. Get ready to run when I say. She flicked her wand in a complex pattern. Confundo Maxima. The spell hit all five attackers simultaneously, their eyes glazing over behind their hoods. Now! Hermione shouted. Harry and Luna released their shield. The moment they did, Harry felt the power drain from him, leaving him lightheaded. Luna swayed beside him, looking equally exhausted. Sidelong apparition, Hermione ordered, grabbing both their arms. 3, 2, 1, the forest vanished with a crack, replaced by the familiar interior of Grimmauld Place. They collapsed onto the dusty sofa, breathing hard. That was. Harry began. Extraordinary, Luna finished. You channeled my magic, Harry. That's what the Eternal King does, directs the power that flows through Merlin's line. Hermione was already pacing. Those people knew about the ritual. They were waiting for it to happen. And they mentioned Morgana, Merlin's greatest rival according to wizarding history. The Hollow Court, Harry repeated. Never heard of them. Nor I, said Luna, but they knew me. Or rather, they knew what I am. She looked down at the dagger still clutched in her hand. This is bigger than I thought. Harry flexed his fingers, feeling the unfamiliar weight of the ring. So what now? We're bonded, those hollow court people are after us, and we still don't know what any of this really means. Luna's expression turned serious. Now we learn. The grimoire contains more information, and there must be other sources. We need to understand what it means to be Merlin's heir and the eternal king before the hollow court finds us again. And we need to figure out what they want, Hermione added. If they follow Morgana's path, that can't be good. Harry nodded, feeling the beginnings of a plan form in his mind. We start research tomorrow. Tonight, we rest and recover. That magic took a lot out of both of us. Luna leaned against his shoulder, her normal dreamy expression returning. You're taking this rather well, Harry. Being chosen as my eternal king and all. Harry laughed softly. After everything else that's happened in my life, becoming magical royalty to the heir of Merlin seems almost normal. Especially since it's you. Me? Luna looked genuinely curious. If anyone was going to turn out to be Merlin's heir, it would be you. You've always seen things the rest of us couldn't. Luna smiled, her eyes drifting closed with exhaustion. That's why we'll make a good team, Harry. You've always believed what couldn't be seen. As Luna dozed off against his shoulder, Harry caught Hermione's concerned gaze. You okay with all this? She asked quietly. Harry looked down at the ring on his finger, feeling the magic humming inside it. Then at Luna, peaceful in sleep despite everything. Something protective stirred in his chest. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Through their newly formed bond, he sensed Luna's contentment even in sleep. Whatever this new adventure might bring, they would face it together, the boy who lived and the last heir of Merlin. It felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. Chapter 2, The Hollow Court. Harry woke to sunlight streaming through dusty curtains and the strange sensation of another person's magic humming beneath his skin. For a moment, he lay still, cataloging the differences in his body. The ring on his finger pulsed with a gentle rhythm that matched his heartbeat. His magical core felt, expanded somehow, as if someone had knocked down a wall inside him. Luna. He sat up, suddenly alert. She wasn't in the room. Luna, he called, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. He'd fallen asleep in his clothes, too exhausted after the ritual to change. In the kitchen, her dreamy voice floated up the stairs. I'm making dirigible plum tea. Harry relaxed, feeling her presence through their new connection. It wasn't mind reading, he couldn't hear her thoughts, but he sensed her emotions. Curiosity. Excitement. A touch of anxiety beneath it all. He found her in the gloomy kitchen of Grimmauld Place, humming to herself as she stirred something purple in a teapot. She wore the same clothes from yesterday, her blonde hair even more tangled than usual, and she still glowed faintly in the dim light. Morning, he said, leaning against the doorframe. Luna looked up and smiled. Your hair does even more interesting things when you sleep. Harry ran a hand self-consciously through his perpetually messy hair. Yours isn't exactly tidy either. I like messy things. They have more personality. She poured the purple liquid into 2 chipped mugs. Dirigible plum tea helps clear magical interference. I thought we might need that today. Harry accepted the mug, eyeing the contents warily. How are you feeling? Different. Luna stirred her tea with her finger, apparently unbothered by the heat. The magic isn't fighting me anymore. It's settled, like it's found its home. She looked up at him. How about you? Like I'm carrying a piece of you with me, Harry admitted, taking a cautious sip of tea. It tasted like blackberries and something spicy he couldn't identify. Not bad, actually. I can feel your emotions. Nothing specific, just impressions. Luna nodded. That's the bond. It'll grow stronger with time and practice. She tilted her head, studying him. You're not freaking out. It wasn't a question, but Harry answered anyway. Surprisingly, no. After Voldemort lived in my head for years, having a connection to you is, nice. A soft laugh escaped her. That's a very low bar, Harry. Where's Hermione? He asked, changing the subject. Gone to retrieve some books from her flat. She said we need to research the Hollow Court. Luna set down her mug. But I think we need to experiment first. See what we can do. Harry raised an eyebrow. You want to test our new powers? Don't you? Luna's eyes sparkled with excitement. We channeled magic together yesterday, but we did it instinctively. We should learn how it works before those people find us again. She had a point. Harry drained his tea and set the mug aside. What did you have in mind? Something simple to start. Luna extended her hand, palm up. A small ball of blue light appeared, floating above her skin. Try to take control of it. Harry hesitated, then reached out with his magic rather than his hand. He could feel the energy Luna had created, wild, playful, distinctly her. He imagined grasping it, directing it. The ball of light wobbled, then floated toward him. It hovered above his palm, changing from blue to green as it moved. It changed color, he noted with surprise. Because it's responding to you now. Luna stepped closer, examining the light. Your magical signature is different from mine. Greener. Harry concentrated, and the ball expanded, filling the gloomy kitchen with emerald light. This is incredible, he murmured. Try something harder, Luna suggested. Create something new with my power. Harry focused on the feeling of Luna's magic flowing through their bond. It felt like capturing moonlight or holding mist, elusive but powerful. He channeled it through the ring, which grew warm on his finger. The air between them shimmered. Slowly, a miniature stag formed, made entirely of silvery blue light. It wasn't a Patronus, more like a living sculpture. It pranced around the kitchen, leaving trails of sparkling magic in its wake. Luna clapped her hands in delight. It's beautiful. Harry stared in amazement. I've never been able to do anything like this before. It's my magic, your direction, Luna explained. Together, we can. A thunderous crash from upstairs interrupted her. Both of them drew their wands instantly, the light stag dissolving as their concentration broke. Hermione? Harry called, already moving toward the stairs. No answer. Harry and Luna exchanged glances. Through their bond, he felt her shift from joy to alert focus. He nodded once, and they moved in perfect tandem up the stairs, wands ready. The noise had come from the drawing room. Harry approached the door cautiously, Luna at his back. He could feel her gathering magic, ready to release it at his command. He pushed the door open with his foot. The room appeared empty, but the heavy chandelier lay shattered on the floor. Someone's here, Luna whispered. I can feel them. Harry nodded. He could feel it too, a cold, slithering presence that reminded him unpleasantly of Voldemort's followers. Show yourself, he commanded, infusing the words with magic. The air in the corner of the room rippled. A figure appeared, one of the hooded members of the Hollow Court. Before either Harry or Luna could react, the intruder flung something toward them. Harry didn't think, he acted. Drawing on Luna's magic through their bond, he created a shield of pure energy. The object, a small black stone, hit the barrier and exploded with dark smoke. Grab it, the intruder shouted, and Harry realized they weren't alone. A second Hollow Court member appeared behind them, lunging for Luna. Harry spun, directing a blast of magic that sent the attacker crashing into a bookshelf. Luna, duck, he yelled as the first intruder fired a curse. Luna dropped to the floor, and the spell missed her by inches. Harry felt rage bubble up inside him. These people were threatening Luna, his sorceress, his friend, his responsibility. Without conscious thought, he drew deeply on their combined magic and thrust his hand forward. A wave of concussive force erupted from his palm, slamming the first attacker into the wall with enough power to crack the plaster. The figure crumpled to the floor, unconscious. Luna was already handling the second attacker. She stood with the dragon-hilted dagger in her hand, her eyes glowing silver. She made a slicing motion, and the air itself seemed to cut through the space between her and her opponent. The hooded figure screamed as invisible blades slashed their robes to ribbons. "Bind them," Harry said, his voice eerily calm despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Luna nodded. Together, they extended their hands. Threads of light shot from their fingertips, wrapping around the two attackers like luminous rope. "That," said a voice from the doorway, "was quite impressive." Harry and Luna turned simultaneously, magic gathered and ready to strike. Hermione stood there, wide-eyed, a stack of books in her arms. "It's me. Don't blast me." Harry lowered his hand, relief flooding through him. "Sorry. We had visitors." Hermione eyed the bound figures on the floor. "I see that. Ministry's going to have a field day with this." "We're not calling the Ministry," Luna said immediately. "We can't trust them with this yet." "Then what do we do with them?" Hermione set her books on a table and approached cautiously. Harry knelt beside the unconscious attacker. "First, we find out who they are." He pulled back the hood, revealing a woman in her 40s with a severe face and short gray hair. Luna examined the other one, a younger man with a shaved head and a tattoo of a raven on his neck. "Anyone you recognize?" Hermione asked. Harry and Luna both shook their heads. "Let's wake them up," Harry suggested. "Carefully." He pointed his wand at the woman. "Renervate." Her eyes fluttered open, focusing quickly on Harry. Rather than fear, her expression showed satisfaction. "The king passes the first test," she said, her voice hoarse. "Good." Luna frowned. "Test? You attacked us." "Of course we did." The woman smiled thinly. "The Hollow Court must assess your worthiness. Merlin's power cannot fall to the weak." "Who are you?" Harry demanded. "My name is irrelevant. I am a seeker of the Hollow Court." Hermione had her wand trained on the woman. "What is the Hollow Court? Why are you following Morgana?" The woman's eyes flickered to Hermione, dismissive. "This one is not part of the bond. She should not be involved." "Answer the question," Harry said sharply, drawing on Luna's magic to add weight to his words. The woman stiffened as the magic washed over her. "The Hollow Court preserves the true magical traditions that Merlin suppressed. We are the keepers of Morgana's wisdom. For centuries we have waited for Merlin's heir to awaken, so that the ancient balance might be restored." "By attacking us?" Luna asked skeptically. "By testing you." The woman's gaze moved between them. "Power untested is power unearned. You passed. Others will come with greater challenges." Harry felt a chill. "Others? How many of you are there?" The woman smiled enigmatically. "Enough." Before Harry could press further, both captives disappeared with a loud crack, magical bindings and all. "What the?" Harry jumped to his feet. "They can't have apparat. The house has protections." "They didn't," Hermione said grimly, pointing to small piles of black dust where the intruders had been. "Those weren't people." "Not entirely." Luna knelt, examining the dust. "Magical constructs. Advanced ones. Like Inferi?" Harry asked. "No, more sophisticated. Partially sentient." Luna straightened up. "Someone very powerful created them." Hermione was already flipping through one of her books. "I've read about this. Magical proxies, constructs that allow a witch or wizard to project their consciousness into a temporary form. They're incredibly difficult to create. And illegal, I imagine," Harry added. "Very. The Ministry banned them after Grindelwald's followers used them to infiltrate magical governments." Luna looked thoughtful. They said others would come with greater challenges. We need to be prepared. Harry nodded, running a hand through his hair. We need information. About the Hollow Court, about Merlin's magic, about this whole Eternal King business. I might have something, Hermione said, pulling a small, ancient-looking book from her stack. This was in the restricted section at Hogwarts. McGonagall let me borrow it when I explained the situation. Luna took the book carefully. The Arthurian Codex, Truths Behind the Legends, she read aloud. It mentions the Hollow Court, Hermione explained, though only briefly. They're described as keepers of the Hollow Hills where Morgana's followers retreated after Merlin's ascendance. Hollow Hills. Harry frowned. Ancient magical sites, Luna said, her eyes lighting up with recognition. Dad wrote about them once for the Quibbler. Places where the barrier between worlds is thin. Hermione nodded. According to the book, the Hollow Court believes Morgana was the rightful guardian of magic, and that Merlin corrupted it by binding it to human laws and limitations. That doesn't sound so terrible, Harry observed. It does when you consider what unfettered magic really means, Hermione countered. Magic without rules or restraints is chaotic, destructive. There's a reason we use wands and incantations, they provide structure and control. Luna was leafing through the Arthurian Codex. Here's something about the Eternal King, she said suddenly. Listen, Merlin's greatest innovation was the channeling of wild magic through the vessel of the Eternal King. Where Morgana sought to release magic from all bonds, Merlin understood that even the most powerful sorcery requires direction. Thus did he choose Arthur, not for his bloodline but for his heart, to stand as the anchor and rudder to Merlin's sea of power. Harry absorbed this. So I'm supposed to be your rudder? Luna smiled at his phrasing. More like a focusing lens. My bloodline carries Merlin's raw magical potential, but the Eternal King shapes and directs it. The ritual you performed established the connection, Hermione added, but according to this, you'll need to strengthen it through practice. Harry looked down at the ring on his finger, then at Luna. We were doing that before we were interrupted. We should continue somewhere safer, Luna suggested. Somewhere with natural magic we can draw upon. Shell Cottage, Harry said immediately. Bill and Fleur are visiting her family in France. It's protected, isolated, and sits on a magical convergence point where land meets sea. Hermione nodded approvingly. Perfect. I'll keep researching here. The Black Family Library might have information about the Hollow Court that isn't in conventional texts. You'll be safe? Harry asked. I'll enhance the protections, Hermione promised. And I'll contact Bill. He's a cursebreaker, he might know something about ancient magical bindings that could help you understand your connection better. Luna gathered the Lovegood grimoire and the Arthurian Codex. We should leave immediately. Those constructs will have reported back to whoever sent them. Harry felt a twinge of guilt at the idea of leaving Hermione alone. Maybe we should all stay together. The Hollow Court is after you and Luna, not me, Hermione pointed out practically. And we need information if we're going to understand what we're facing. She was right, of course. Harry nodded reluctantly. Send your Patronus if anything happens. Anything at all. I will. Hermione hugged them both. Be careful. And Harry, she glanced meaningfully at Luna. Remember what we talked about before. About not rushing into things. Harry felt his cheeks warm. Right. Luna looked between them curiously but didn't ask. Instead, she held out her hand to Harry. Ready? He took it, feeling their magic surge at the contact. Ready. With a crack, they disappeared, leaving Hermione surrounded by books in the dusty drawing room of Grimmauld Place. Shell Cottage hadn't changed since Harry had last seen it. Still perched on the cliff overlooking the sea, still beautiful in its windswept isolation. The protective enchantments recognized him, allowing them to pass through without resistance. It's lovely, Luna said, staring out at the ocean. Full of liminal magic. Liminal magic. Magic of thresholds and boundaries. Where sea meets land, where sky meets earth. She spread her arms, breathing deeply. Perfect for what we need to practice. Harry unlocked the cottage with a tap of his wand. Inside, it was just as he remembered, cozy, filled with shells and sea glass, smelling of salt and lavender. They settled in quickly, Luna placing their books on the kitchen table while Harry checked the cottage's protections. Everything seemed secure, but he added a few additional wards just to be safe. When he returned to the kitchen, Luna had changed into a flowing blue dress that matched the color of the sea. She'd pulled her tangled blonde hair into a messy bun, with her wand stuck through it to hold it in place. I transfigured one of the curtains, she explained, seeing his surprised look. My clothes were getting quite stale. It suits you, Harry said honestly. Luna smiled. I found something interesting in the grimoire while you were checking the wards. A training exercise for new bonds between Merlin's heirs and their kings. What kind of exercise? It's called the confluence. We combine our magic to create something neither of us could make alone. She led him outside, to a flat area of grass between the cottage and the cliff edge. The book suggests water for beginners, since it flows naturally. Harry followed her to where they could see both the cottage and the sea spread out below. The afternoon sun turned the water to gold, and a brisk breeze carried the scent of salt. What do we do? He asked. Luna positioned herself opposite him, about 5 feet away. I gather the power, you shape it. We start with our hands apart, then bring them together as our magic merges. She demonstrated, raising her hands with palms facing him. Harry mirrored her position. Now, I'll call the magic, Luna said. Close your eyes and feel it through our bond. Harry obeyed, shutting his eyes. Through their connection, he sensed Luna drawing power, not just from herself, but from the air, the sea, the earth beneath their feet. The magic gathered between them, wild and formless. I feel it, he murmured. Now shape it, Luna instructed. Imagine water, flowing and changing. Harry focused on the sensation of water, cool, fluid, ever-moving. He directed the magic, molding it like clay, feeling Luna's power respond to his guidance. Open your eyes, Luna whispered. Harry did. Between them floated a sphere of water, suspended in mid-air, shimmering with inner light. It wasn't just water, it was magic made liquid, responding to their will. Move closer, Luna said, taking a step toward him. Harry did the same, maintaining his focus on the water sphere. As the distance between them decreased, the sphere expanded, growing more complex. Patterns formed within it, spirals, waves, intricate designs that shifted and flowed. When they stood just a foot apart, Luna nodded. Now bring your hands to mine. Slowly, Harry moved his hands forward until his palms nearly touched Luna's. The sphere of water magic flowed around their hands, cool against their skin. Together, Luna said softly. Their palms met. Magic surged between them, and the water sphere exploded outward, not violently, but in a perfect expanding ring that raced across the grass toward the cliff edge. When it reached the drop, it didn't fall but instead rose upward, forming a massive, intricate fountain of light-filled water that arched over the cottage. Merlin's beard, Harry breathed, staring up at what they'd created. Luna laughed, the sound pure joy. Not bad for our first try. The water fountain held its shape for several more seconds before dissolving into a gentle rain that sparkled as it fell around them. That was incredible, Harry said, lowering his hands but not stepping back. He remained close to Luna, feeling the hum of their combined magic. It's just the beginning, she replied, her silver eyes reflecting the last glimmers of magical water. The grimoire describes much more complex workings for experienced pairs. Harry realized he still had his hands against Luna's. He started to pull back, but she caught them, holding him in place. The connection is stronger with contact, she explained. We should maintain it while training. Right, Harry said, ignoring the flutter in his stomach. This was Luna, his friend, his partner in this strange new magic. Nothing more. But the bond between them pulsed with something that felt dangerously like affection. Luna seemed oblivious to his internal conflict. Let's try something else. Defense this time. They spent the next few hours practicing. Harry found that directing Luna's magic came more naturally with each attempt. They created shields of various types, some that deflected, others that absorbed, still others that reflected attacks back at their source. Luna conjured harmless projectiles for them to defend against, and Harry shaped her power into increasingly complex barriers. By sunset, they were both exhausted but exhilarated. We need to eat, Harry realized, noting Luna's pallor beneath her natural glow. Using this much magic burns energy. They retreated to the cottage kitchen, where Harry threw together a simple meal from supplies Bill and Fleur had left. Luna set the table, humming to herself. I've been thinking about what that construct said, Harry said as they ate. About others coming with greater challenges. Luna nodded, buttering a piece of bread. They're testing us. Seeing if we're worthy of the power we now share. But worthy according to whom? They follow Morgana's path, not Merlin's. That's what I find curious. Luna tilted her head thoughtfully. Why would Morgana's followers care about Merlin's heir? Unless what? Unless they need us for something. Luna's eyes met his. The woman said they waited centuries for Merlin's heir to awaken so the ancient balance might be restored. What if they don't want to destroy us? What if they need us? Harry considered this. But for what? Luna shook her head. I don't know yet. But I think we should find out more about Morgana. Not just the stories everyone knows, but the truth. How? It was over 1,000 years ago. A smile spread across Luna's face, the dreamy, slightly mischievous smile that Harry had always found endearing. We consult an expert, of course. An expert on Morgana? Who? Harry broke off as understanding dawned. You don't mean. There's a renowned magical archaeologist who specializes in Arthurian artifacts. He's written extensively on Morgana's historical role as opposed to her portrayal in wizarding literature. And you know this person? Luna nodded. I interviewed him for the Quibbler last year. Darius Blackthorne. Dad thought he was brilliant. Harry raised an eyebrow. And you think he'd help us? Oh, definitely. He was fascinated by the Lovegood family when I mentioned our connection to ancient magical bloodlines. Luna twirled her fork absently. Of course, I didn't know about being Merlin's heir then. Is he trustworthy? Luna considered the question seriously. He's passionate about historical accuracy. And he has access to sites and artifacts most wizards never see. If anyone can help us understand what the Hollow Court really wants, it's him. Harry wasn't entirely convinced, but they needed information, and quickly. How do we find him? Last I heard, he was working at an excavation in Cornwall, Tintagel Castle, supposedly Arthur's birthplace. Luna's eyes lit up. Actually, that's perfect. Tintagel sits on another magical convergence point. We could continue our training there while consulting with Darius. Hermione won't like us seeking out a stranger. That's why we won't tell her until afterward, Luna said pragmatically. Besides, the Hollow Court already found us at Grimmauld Place. We need to keep moving. She had a point. Harry nodded slowly. Tomorrow, then. We'll go to Tintagel and find this Blackthorne person. Excellent. Luna beamed at him. You'll like him, Harry. He has a very unique perspective on magical history. After dinner, they continued studying the grimoire and the Arthurian Codex, taking notes on anything that might help them understand their bond better. Luna was particularly interested in a section about synchronized spellcasting, where king and sorceress could cast different spells that worked in harmony. Like you creating a shield while I attack through it, she explained excitedly. Or me creating illusions while you cast real spells that the enemy can't distinguish from the fakes. Harry watched her as she talked, animated and passionate. This side of Luna, focused, analytical, strategic, wasn't new, but it was rarely so prominent. The dreamy girl was still there in her occasional non-sequiturs and the way she absently twirled her hair, but there was a sharpness to her now that reminded him of their DA days. What? Luna asked, catching him staring. Nothing, Harry said quickly. Just, you seem different. I am different. She touched the pendant hanging around her neck, not her usual cork necklace, but a small blue stone similar to the one in Harry's ring. Merlin's magic has been part of me all along, but dormant. Now it's awake, and so am I. The simple honesty of her statement struck Harry. Luna had always been unapologetically herself, weird, perceptive, kind. Now she was all those things and more, with power to match her uniqueness. We should sleep, he suggested, noting how late it had grown. Tomorrow will be busy. Luna nodded, gathering their notes. I'll take the sofa. Don't be ridiculous. There are 3 bedrooms. Take Victoire's room, it's the smallest, but the bed is comfortable. Luna looked about to argue, then yawned widely. All right. But wake me if you sense anything through the bond. Even dreams. Dreams? Kings and sorceresses often share dreams. The grimoire mentioned it. Luna stood, stretching like a cat. Good night, Harry. Thank you for today. For what? You're the one with Merlin's magic. Luna paused at the door to the kitchen. For believing me. For accepting this. She gestured between them. Not everyone would. Before Harry could respond, she disappeared down the hallway to the bedrooms. He sat at the kitchen table for a long time afterward, turning the ring on his finger and thinking about fate, choices, and silver eyes that saw too much. Tintagel Castle wasn't a castle anymore, just ruins perched dramatically on a rocky headland jutting into the Celtic Sea. But even from a distance, Harry could feel the magic thrumming in the place. They appeared on a nearby clifftop, having apparat from Shell Cottage early that morning. The day was clear but windy, the sea below them crashing against the rocks. It's beautiful, Luna said, gazing at the ruins. You can almost see it as it was. Harry was more concerned with their immediate surroundings. How do we find Blackthorn? This place is huge. Luna closed her eyes, concentrating. Follow me. She set off confidently along a path that wound down toward the ruins. Harry followed, alert for any sign of danger. They'd spent the morning practicing defensive magic, preparing for another encounter with the Hollow Court, but the constant vigilance was exhausting. They passed through a muggle-repelling charm as they neared the ruins. Beyond it, Harry was surprised to see wizards and witches in work robes moving among the ancient stones, carefully examining and documenting their findings. Magical archaeology, Luna explained. The ministry funds expeditions to historical sites with significant magical residue. Muggles think these are just ordinary ruins. She approached a witch who was cataloging small artifacts in a portable tent. Excuse me, we're looking for Darius Blackthorn. The witch looked up, surprised. Oh. He's at the cave site. North side, down the path toward the beach. She peered at them curiously. Are you with the Ministry Review Board? No, old friends, Luna said smoothly. Thank you. They found the path easily enough. It led steeply down the cliff face toward a dark opening barely visible among the rocks. Merlin's cave, Luna said as they descended. Legend says he used it as a workspace away from Arthur's court. Harry eyed the cave entrance skeptically. Bit damp for a workspace, isn't it? Luna laughed. The actual cave is supposedly much more impressive than what Muggles see. She was right. As they approached the entrance, the air shimmered with protective enchantments. Luna pressed her palm against the barrier, and it recognized her, presumably detecting Merlin's blood. The shimmer parted, revealing not a dank sea cave but a large, dry chamber with smooth walls covered in ancient markings. Inside, a tall man with steel-gray hair stood examining one of the wall carvings. He wore practical work robes with numerous pockets and had a wand tucked behind his ear in a way that reminded Harry of Luna. "Professor Blackthorn?" Luna called. The man turned, his sharp features breaking into a smile of delighted recognition. "Miss Lovegood. What an unexpected pleasure." His gaze shifted to Harry, and his eyebrows rose. "And Harry Potter himself. Now I'm truly intrigued." Darius Blackthorn moved toward them with the grace of a much younger man. Up close, Harry noted his eyes, a peculiar shade of amber that seemed to catch the light. "We need your expertise," Luna said without preamble. "It's about Morgana and the Hollow Court." If she'd hoped to surprise Blackthorn, she succeeded. The archaeologist's composed expression faltered momentarily. "The Hollow Court? Now that's a name I haven't heard spoken aloud in many years." He studied them more carefully, his gaze lingering on Harry's ring and Luna's pendant. Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Ah. I see. Perhaps we should speak privately." He led them deeper into the cave, past other researchers who barely glanced up from their work. At the back of the main chamber, he touched his wand to what appeared to be a solid wall. It dissolved, revealing a smaller room set up as an office. "Please, sit." He gestured to two chairs facing a cluttered desk. Once they were seated, he cast several privacy charms before taking his own seat. "So," he said, leaning forward with undisguised interest, "Merlin's heir has awakened at last, and chosen her king. No wonder the Hollow Court has stirred." Harry tensed. "How do you know that?" Blackthorn smiled thinly. "Mr. Potter, I've devoted my life to studying Arthurian magic. I know the signs." He nodded toward Harry's ring. "The crown of stars on your finger. The awakening of dormant power in Miss Lovegood. And there's the matter of the magical surge detected 2 nights ago in the Forest of Dean, a convergence point known to have been used by Merlin himself." Luna seemed untroubled by his knowledge. "Then you understand why we're here. We need information about the Hollow Court. They've already attacked us once. And they will again," Blackthorn said matter-of-factly. "It's their purpose. They've waited centuries for Merlin's magic to reawaken." He leaned back in his chair. "What do you already know?" Harry and Luna exchanged glances. Through their bond, Harry sensed her trust in Blackthorn, though tempered with caution. He nodded slightly. "We know they follow Morgana's path," Luna began. "That they believe Merlin corrupted magic by imposing structure and limitations on it. They sent magical constructs to test us, and said more challenges would come. But we don't understand what they ultimately want," Harry added. "Or why they care about Merlin's heir at all, if they're loyal to Morgana." Blackthorn nodded thoughtfully. "To understand the Hollow Court, you must first understand the true relationship between Merlin and Morgana. Not the simplified rivalry portrayed in stories, but the complex reality." He stood and moved to a bookshelf, selecting an ancient-looking scroll. Merlin and Morgana weren't enemies, originally. They were colleagues, 2 approaches to magic embodied in 2 exceptionally gifted individuals. He unrolled the scroll on his desk, revealing illustrations of 2 figures. One male, bearded, holding a staff. One female, crowned with stars, hands upraised. Merlin believed magic required structure, direction, purpose. He created systems and rules to channel magical energy safely. Morgana believed magic was a force of nature that should flow freely, unrestricted by human constraints. Both were partially right. Luna leaned forward, fascinated. What happened between them? Balance was lost. Blackthorn traced the illustration with his finger. Merlin's approach gained favor. He bound himself to Arthur, the first eternal king, and together they shaped how magic would be practiced for generations. Morgana felt this was a betrayal of magic itself. So she opposed them, Harry said. She tried to restore what she saw as the natural order. But her methods became increasingly desperate, even dangerous. Blackthorn rolled up the scroll carefully. After her defeat, her closest followers retreated to the Hollow Hills, ancient magical sites throughout Britain. They became the Hollow Court, preserving Morgana's teachings and waiting. Waiting for what? Luna asked, though Harry suspected she already knew the answer. For Merlin's line to produce an heir powerful enough to help them restore the balance. Blackthorn's amber eyes fixed on Luna. You, Miss Lovegood. Harry felt a chill. You're saying they want to use Luna? Not use. Partner with. Blackthorn moved around the desk to stand directly before them. The Hollow Court believes that true magical balance requires both approaches, Merlin's structure and Morgana's freedom. They've spent centuries collecting artifacts and knowledge from both traditions, preparing for this moment. Luna looked thoughtful. The construct said they wanted to restore the ancient balance. That's what you mean? Blackthorn nodded. Exactly. They believe you and your king together could unite the two magical traditions, creating a new equilibrium. And if we refuse? Harry asked bluntly. They'll try to convince you. Then compel you. Then take what they need by force. Blackthorn's expression turned grim. The Hollow Court has waited too long to be denied now. Harry exchanged another glance with Luna. He could sense her processing this information, her natural curiosity warring with caution. You seem to know a lot about them, he observed carefully. Blackthorn smiled. Professional interest. As I said, I've devoted my life to studying Arthurian magic. The Hollow Court is part of that history. Have you ever encountered them directly? Luna asked. A shadow crossed Blackthorn's face. Once. Many years ago. They tested me, as well. Why? Harry pressed. I discovered an artifact connected to Morgana, a focus stone she supposedly used in her workings. The Hollow Court took notice. He rolled up his left sleeve, revealing a jagged scar that ran from wrist to elbow. They determined I wasn't what they were waiting for, but they let me keep the stone as compensation for my trouble. He reached into his robes and withdrew a small black stone on a silver chain, similar to what the Hollow Court construct had thrown at them during the attack. A focus stone, Luna murmured. Like what they used against us at Grimmauld Place. They attempted to bind you with it, Blackthorn confirmed. A test, as I said. To gauge your power and compatibility. Harry felt increasingly uneasy. Something about Blackthorn's explanation seemed too convenient, too detailed. Why are you helping us? You don't even know us, not really. Blackthorn returned to his seat, pocketing the stone. Miss Lovegood and I share an interest in magical truth, not just convenient narratives. As for you, Mr. Potter, your reputation precedes you. A man who faced death rather than submit to magical tyranny is someone worth assisting. His answer was smooth, reasonable. Yet Harry couldn't shake his suspicion. Luna, however, pressed on. Can you show us something of Morgana's magic? To help us understand what the Hollow Court wants to restore. Blackthorn considered the request. I can do better than show you. I can take you to one of her working sites. There's a chamber beneath this cave, sealed for centuries until our expedition discovered it last month. The magical residue there is remarkably preserved. Is it safe? Harry asked. With proper precautions. Blackthorn stood again. And with Merlin's heir and her king present, we might learn things that have eluded my research team. Luna looked at Harry, clearly eager to explore. Through their bond, he sensed her genuine excitement at this archaeological opportunity, mixed with a researcher's desire to gather information about their adversaries. We'll go, Harry decided, but we stay together. And at the first sign of trouble, we leave. Blackthorn inclined his head. Of course. Let me gather a few supplies, and we can proceed. While the archaeologist collected various instruments from around his office, Luna leaned close to Harry. You don't trust him, she whispered. Something feels off, Harry admitted quietly. He knows too much, too specifically. Knowledge is his profession, Luna pointed out. And we need what he knows. Just stay alert, Harry murmured. And keep our bond open. If anything happens, I'll know instantly, Luna assured him. Besides, I'm quite capable of handling myself. Harry couldn't argue with that. After yesterday's training session, he'd seen firsthand how formidable Luna's magic had become. Blackthorn returned with a small bag and what looked like 3 amulets on cords. Protection charms, he explained, offering them each one. The chamber contains residual magic that can affect unprepared visitors. Luna examined hers curiously before slipping it over her head. Harry hesitated but followed suit after seeing no obvious danger in the simple bronze disc. This way. Blackthorn led them through another hidden door at the back of his office, revealing a narrow staircase cut into the living rock. Mind your step. These stairs are over 1,000 years old. They descended in silence, the air growing cooler and heavier with each step. Harry kept one hand near his wand and the other close to Luna, ready to grab her if needed. The staircase ended at a small landing before a wall carved with intricate symbols. Unlike the runes in Merlin's cave above, these had a wild, almost feral quality to their design. Morgana's seals, Blackthorn explained, running his fingers reverently over the carvings. Designed to keep out those who followed Merlin's structured approach to magic. Then how do we get in? Harry asked. Blackthorn smiled. The seals respond to intent, not specific magic. If we approach with respect and a desire to learn rather than control, they will admit us. He glanced at Luna. You might find it particularly easy, Miss Lovegood. Despite carrying Merlin's blood, your natural approach to magic has always been unconventional. Luna nodded, stepping forward. She placed her palm against the center of the wall, where the symbols converged in a spiraling pattern. We come to learn, not to bind, she said softly. The symbols began to glow with a deep violet light that spread outward from her hand. The wall shimmered and became transparent, revealing a chamber beyond. Well done, Blackthorn murmured. Please, after you. Luna stepped through first, Harry right behind her. The chamber was larger than he'd expected, roughly circular, with a domed ceiling from which crystal formations hung like frozen rain. The walls were covered with more of the wild, flowing symbols, and at the center stood a raised dais with what appeared to be a basin carved from black stone. Morgana's scrying pool, Blackthorn said, moving toward it with obvious excitement. Legend says she could see across vast distances using water from sacred springs. Luna circled the chamber slowly, examining the wall carvings. These aren't spells, she observed. They're principles. Magical concepts. Precisely. Blackthorn nodded approvingly. Morgana didn't believe in fixed incantations. She taught that magic should respond to will and intent rather than rigid formulas. Harry remained near the entrance, something about the chamber making his skin prickle uncomfortably. The air felt charged, as if a storm were brewing in the enclosed space. The magic is still active here, he said, surprised. Yes. Remarkable preservation. Blackthorn reached the scrying basin and ran his hands along its edge. This is what I wanted to show you. The basin contains traces of Morgana's original workings. With your connection to Merlin's magic, you might be able to activate it temporarily. Luna joined him at the basin, clearly intrigued. How? A drop of blood from Merlin's heir, freely given, would be sufficient. Blackthorn produced a small silver knife from his bag. Just a small cut on your fingertip. Harry moved forward quickly. Wait. Blood magic is dangerous. Not inherently, Blackthorn countered. It's one of the oldest and most natural forms of magic. Its reputation comes from those who used it to control rather than connect. Luna looked thoughtful. The grimoire mentioned blood as a conduit for Merlin's magic too. Of course it did, Blackthorn said. Before wizards used wands, blood and intent were the primary channels for magical working. Harry still felt uneasy. Luna, I don't think, it's all right, Harry, she said softly. Just a drop, to learn what we can. Through their bond, he felt her certainty, and her determination to make her own choice. Before he could object further, Luna took the knife and pricked her finger. A single drop of blood welled up, shimmering with the same blue light that surrounded her when she used Merlin's magic. She let it fall into the black basin. The moment it touched the stone, the drop expanded, becoming a pool of glowing blue liquid that filled the basin completely. Fascinating, Blackthorn breathed, his eyes fixed on the swirling blue substance. The blood of Merlin's heir, activating Morgana's focus. The beginning of balance restored. Images began to form in the liquid, fleeting glimpses of places and people. A castle on a hill. A forest clearing where hooded figures gathered around a fire. A cave filled with crystals. A sword thrust into stone. What are we seeing? Harry asked, drawn closer despite his misgivings. Places connected to the old magic, Blackthorn explained. Convergence points where Morgana's followers still gather. Luna leaned forward, entranced by the shifting images. There's a pattern to them. They're forming she broke off abruptly, stumbling backward. Harry caught her arm, steadying her. Luna? What's wrong? Her face had gone pale, her eyes wide. I saw something else. Someone watching us through the pool. Blackthorn's expression sharpened. What did you see, exactly? Eyes. Amber eyes, like, Luna froze, staring at Blackthorn. Like yours. The archaeologist's pleasant demeanor disappeared in an instant. His posture straightened, his face hardened, and when he spoke, his voice carried a new authority. Sooner than I intended, but no matter. He raised his hand, and the door through which they'd entered sealed itself with a sound like thunder. We have what we need now. Harry drew his wand. Who are you really? Blackthorn smiled coldly. I told you the truth about my profession. I simply omitted my position. He gave a formal bow. Darius Blackthorn, High Seer of the Hollow Court, at your service. Luna's eyes narrowed. You've been watching me. Waiting for Merlin's magic to awaken. For years, Blackthorn confirmed. Ever since you first showed signs of unusual magical perception. The Lovegoods have always been close to the awakening, but you, Luna, you were the first in centuries with the potential to fully manifest Merlin's legacy. Harry moved in front of Luna protectively, drawing on their bond to gather power. What do you want from us? Exactly what I said earlier. Partnership. Balance. Blackthorn gestured to the basin, where the blue liquid still swirled with images. Merlin's structured magic and Morgana's free-flowing power, united once more. The way it was always meant to be. And if we refuse this partnership? Luna asked, her voice steady despite the danger. Blackthorn's smile faded. Then I take what I need and find another way. Merlin's blood has activated the scrying pool. With that connection established, the Hollow Court can channel your power even without your cooperation, though it would be messier. Harry felt Luna's magic surge through their bond, ready for his direction. That's not going to happen, he said firmly. I had hoped you might be reasonable. Blackthorn sighed theatrically. Your reputation suggested a man who understood necessary alliances, Harry Potter. My reputation, Harry said coldly, is for fighting against those who try to control others against their will. Blackthorn's expression hardened. So be it. He raised both hands, and the protective amulets around their necks suddenly tightened, constricting like snakes. Harry gasped, clawing at the cord. Through watering eyes, he saw Luna doing the same, her face turning red as the amulet cut off her air. Panic and rage surged through him. Drawing deep on their bond, Harry grabbed the amulet and channeled pure magical force into it. The bronze disc shattered, fragments flying across the chamber. Beside him, Luna did the same, her amulet exploding in a flash of blue light. Impressive, Blackthorn acknowledged, already moving backward toward the scrying basin. But ultimately futile. He plunged his hand into the blue liquid, and instantly the chamber filled with violet light. The wild symbols on the walls began to glow and shift, detaching themselves and swirling through the air like living things. Morgana's guardians, Blackthorn called over the rising magical wind. They protect her sacred spaces from intruders. The floating symbols converged, forming humanoid shapes that moved with unnatural speed toward Harry and Luna. Harry reacted instinctively. "Shield," he commanded, drawing on Luna's power. A dome of blue energy formed around them just as the first symbol construct struck. The impact sent vibrations through the shield, but it held. "We need to get out of here," Harry shouted over the magical storm. "Ideas?" Luna's eyes darted around the chamber, assessing. "The ceiling. The crystals are focus points for the chamber's magic. If we disrupt them, the whole system might destabilize," Harry finished, understanding immediately. He raised his wand, directing Luna's magic upward. Together. Luna raised her hands, the dagger of Merlin clutched in one. Blue lightning arced from her fingertips as Harry channeled her power toward the crystal formations hanging from the ceiling. The first crystal shattered with a sound like breaking glass. The symbol constructs faltered momentarily, their formations wavering. Blackthorn snarled in frustration. "Stop them," he commanded, and the constructs redoubled their assault on the shield. Harry and Luna moved in perfect synchronization, their magic flowing between them in an unbroken circuit. One by one, the crystals exploded, raining glittering fragments down on the chamber floor. When the last one shattered, the effect was immediate and catastrophic. The glowing symbols lost cohesion, dissolving into wisps of light. The walls trembled, and dust rained down from the ceiling. "You fools!" Blackthorn shouted. "You'll bring the whole cave down." Harry grabbed Luna's hand. "That's the idea. Run." Together, they sprinted toward the sealed doorway. Without breaking stride, they thrust their joined hands forward, channeling a concentrated blast of magic that shattered the stone barrier. They burst through the opening and raced up the narrow staircase, the sound of collapsing rock close behind them. Harry felt rather than saw Blackthorn pursuing them, the archaeologist's fury palpable in the waves of magic that lashed out at their backs. They reached Blackthorn's office just as a particularly violent tremor shook the cave. Books tumbled from shelves, artifacts crashed to the floor, and a large crack appeared in the ceiling. "The main cave!" Luna shouted, pulling Harry toward the exit. They burst into the larger chamber to find Blackthorn's research team frantically gathering equipment and evacuating. No one paid any attention to them amid the chaos. Almost there, Harry encouraged as they neared the cave entrance. A blast of magic struck the rock wall beside them, showering them with stone fragments. Harry spun around to see Blackthorn standing in the passage from his office, his face contorted with rage. "You cannot escape the hollow court," he snarled. "We will find you wherever you go." Harry raised his wand, ready to duel, but Luna caught his arm. "Not here," she urged. "The cave is collapsing." She was right. The entire structure groaned ominously, larger rocks now falling from the ceiling. Even Blackthorn glanced up in alarm. "This isn't over," the archaeologist promised, backing toward a side passage. "The testing continues. Be ready." With that, he disappeared into the gloom. Harry and Luna didn't wait for more. They sprinted the remaining distance to the cave mouth and out into the blinding sunlight. Behind them, with a final thunderous crash, the entrance collapsed in a cloud of dust and debris. They staggered up the path, putting distance between themselves and the ruined cave. Other researchers milled about on the clifftop, staring in shock at the destruction. "What happened down there?" a witch demanded as they passed. "Unstable magical resonance," Luna replied breathlessly. "The chamber wasn't properly contained." They didn't stop to explain further, continuing until they reached a secluded spot overlooking the sea. "That," Harry panted, bending over with his hands on his knees, "could have gone better." Luna leaned against a rock, her face flushed with exertion. "Actually, I think it was quite informative." Harry stared at her incredulously. "Informative? He tried to kidnap us." "Yes, but now we know who we're dealing with." Luna brushed dust from her clothes. "The High Seer of the Hollow Court himself. And we know what they want, to use my blood to channel Merlin's magic into Morgana's artifacts." Harry had to admit she had a point. "He said the Hollow Court has been watching you for years." Luna nodded thoughtfully. "It explains some things. Strange visitors to the Quibbler office. Books about Arthurian magic appearing mysteriously in our library." She shook her head. "I thought it was just Dad's eccentric friends." "We need to warn Hermione," Harry said, running a hand through his dust-covered hair. "And find somewhere safe to regroup." "Not Grimmauld Place or Shell Cottage," Luna cautioned. "Blackthorn might know about those." Harry thought quickly. "I know where to go. Somewhere with its own ancient protections, where Merlin's heir will be recognized." Luna tilted her head curiously. "Where?" "Hogwarts," Harry said simply. "If anywhere in Britain still holds magic from Merlin's time, it's there. And McGonagall will help us." Luna nodded agreement. "First, we should send a Patronus to Hermione, warning her about Blackthorn." Harry raised his wand, focusing on a happy memory, the moment he and Luna had created the water fountain at Shell Cottage, the pure joy of their magic working in harmony. "Expecto Patronum." The silver stag burst from his wand, more brilliant than ever before, trailing blue sparks that marked the influence of Luna's magic flowing through their bond. "To Hermione Granger," Harry instructed. "Darius Blackthorn is the High Seer of the Hollow Court. He tried to capture us at Tintagel. We're heading to Hogwarts. Meet us there, but be careful, they may be watching you too." The stag bounded away, disappearing over the cliff top. Harry turned to Luna. "Ready?" She nodded, straightening her shoulders with determination. "I think we need to make a brief stop first, though." "Where?" "My father's house again." Luna's expression was unusually serious. "There's more in that silver chest, information about Merlin's sanctum. If the Hollow Court wants to use my blood to access Morgana's magic, we need to understand exactly what Merlin's magic can do." Harry studied her face, noting the resolve in her silver eyes. Through their bond, he sensed her determination, her curiosity, and beneath it all, a flicker of fear she was trying to conceal. He took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Together, then." Luna smiled, some of the tension leaving her face. "Together." They disapparated with a crack, leaving behind only swirling dust where Morgana's cave had stood for 1,000 years. The Lovegood house stood quiet in the afternoon sun, looking deceptively normal. Harry and Luna approached cautiously, wands drawn. "Something feels wrong," Harry murmured. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, a warning sensation he'd learned to trust over years of facing danger. Luna nodded, her dreamy expression replaced by sharp focus. "The wards have been disturbed." They stopped at the edge of the property. Harry extended his magical senses, feeling for threats. "Someone's been here. Recently. Looking for us, or for information?" Luna wondered aloud. "Both, probably." Harry considered their options. "We need that chest, but it might be a trap." Luna closed her eyes, concentrating. Through their bond, Harry felt her connecting to the house itself, to the layers of protection her family had established over generations. "The house recognizes me," she said softly. "Even if they've broken in, they couldn't access the most protected areas." The chest should be safe. Should be, Harry emphasized. Luna opened her eyes, a faint smile on her lips. When has certainty ever been part of our adventures? She had a point. Harry nodded reluctantly. We go in fast, get what we need, and leave. At the first sign of trouble, we combine our magic and blast whoever it is into next week, Luna finished cheerfully. Despite the tension, Harry found himself smiling. Luna's particular blend of whimsy and practicality was oddly reassuring in dangerous situations. They approached the house under a disillusionment charm, moving silently across the garden. The front door stood slightly ajar, confirmation that someone had indeed forced entry. Harry went first, easing the door open wider. The interior was a mess, furniture overturned, papers scattered, shelves emptied onto the floor. Whoever had searched the place hadn't bothered to be tidy about it. Upstairs, Luna whispered, pointing to the spiral staircase. They ascended carefully, alert for any movement or magical traps. The upper floors had received the same treatment, thorough, destructive searching. When they reached Xenophilius's research room, the damage was even worse. Books had been torn apart, artifacts smashed, and the walls bore scorch marks from what looked like frustrated curses. They couldn't find it, Luna observed with satisfaction. She moved directly to what appeared to be a ruined section of wall. Placing her palm against the scorched surface, she murmured words in a language Harry didn't recognize. The wall shimmered and dissolved, revealing the silver chest, untouched amid the destruction. Hidden in plain sight, Harry said admiringly. A Lovegood specialty. Luna retrieved the chest, shrinking it with a tap of her wand and tucking it into her pocket. A floorboard creaked somewhere below them. Both froze, listening intently. Someone's still here, Harry breathed. He gestured toward the window. Out that way. Luna shook her head. Anti-apparition wards. They've locked down the property. Her eyes narrowed in thought. But there's another way. Dad's emergency exit. She moved to a strange contraption in the corner that Harry had assumed was just another of Xenophilius's odd inventions. It resembled a small model of the solar system, with planets orbiting a golden sun. Luna twisted Mars a quarter turn clockwise, Venus a half turn counterclockwise, and pressed the sun inward. With a soft click, a section of the ceiling slid open, revealing a narrow shaft with rungs embedded in the wall. It leads to the hill behind the house, Luna explained. Dad built it after the Death Eaters took me from the train. Harry felt a pang at the reminder of Luna's capture during the war. You go first. I'll cover our retreat. Luna was already climbing. Harry followed, pulling the entrance closed behind them just as footsteps sounded in the research room below. The shaft was dark and cramped, forcing them to climb by feel alone. After what seemed like ages, Luna's voice floated down from above, found the exit. Moments later, they emerged onto a grassy hillside some distance from the house. The exit was cunningly concealed beneath an ordinary-looking rock that slid back into place after Harry climbed out. They'll know we were there, he said, brushing dust from his clothes. Yes, but they won't know what we took. Luna patted her pocket containing the shrunken chest. And they can't follow us this way. The exit only works for those with Lovegood blood or those invited by a Lovegood. Harry scanned the surroundings, making sure they weren't observed. Hogwarts, then. Luna nodded, then hesitated. Wait. There's something I want to check first. She pulled out the shrunken chest, restored it to normal size, and opened it with a touch. Inside, among the scrolls they'd seen before, lay a small wooden box they hadn't examined during their previous visit. Luna removed it carefully. What's that? Harry asked. I'm not sure. But I felt it calling to me while we were in the house. Luna opened the box, revealing what appeared to be a simple compass. Instead of pointing north, however, the needle spun rapidly before settling in a direction that certainly wasn't magnetic north. It's pointing to Merlin's sanctum, Luna breathed, eyes wide with excitement. "This is a finder compass, keyed to Merlin's blood." Harry looked in the direction the needle pointed. "That's Scotland, roughly?" "Yes." Luna's face lit up. "Harry, Merlin's sanctum must be near Hogwarts. That's why you thought of going there, the connection was guiding you." It made a strange kind of sense. Hogwarts had been founded long after Merlin's time, but the founders might have chosen the location precisely because of its existing magical significance. Change of plans, Harry decided. We follow the compass. If Merlin's sanctum has survived all these centuries, it might contain knowledge we need, and protections the Hollow Court can't breach. Luna tucked the compass carefully into her pocket alongside the shrunken chest. "We should tell Hermione where we're really going." Harry cast another Patronus, sending it to inform Hermione of their change in destination. "Ready?" he asked, offering his hand. Luna took it, her fingers intertwining with his. "I've been ready for this my whole life," she said softly. "I just didn't know it until now." Harry felt the truth of her words through their bond, a sense of purpose, of rightness, that transcended the danger they faced. Whatever awaited them at Merlin's sanctum, they would face it together. With a final glance at the distant Lovegood house, now crawling with dark-robed figures emerging to search the grounds, they disapparated. The compass led them to a remote valley in the Scottish Highlands, about 10 miles from Hogwarts. To Muggle eyes, it would appear as nothing but wild, uninhabitable terrain, rocky slopes, dense forest, and treacherous bogs. To Harry and Luna, however, the magic of the place was palpable. "This entire valley is a convergence point," Luna marveled, turning slowly to take in their surroundings. "The magical currents. I can see them." Harry couldn't see them, but he could feel them, rivers of energy flowing through the landscape, converging at a point deeper in the valley. "The compass?" Luna checked it. The needle pointed unwavering toward a sheer rock face ahead of them. "There. But I don't see an entrance." They approached the cliff cautiously. Up close, the rock appeared ordinary, grey stone weathered by centuries of highland storms. Yet the compass insisted this was their destination. "Maybe like platform 9 3/4. Harry suggested, reaching out to touch the stone. His hand met solid rock. "Or not." Luna examined the cliff face thoughtfully, then held up the compass. The needles vibrating. "I think we're very close." She pressed her palm against the stone, as she had done at the cave entrance in Tintagel. Nothing happened. Blood, Harry realized suddenly. Blackthorn said Merlin's blood activated Morgana's scrying pool. Maybe the same principle applies here. Luna nodded, retrieving the dragon-hilted dagger from her pocket. With barely a wince, she pricked her finger and pressed the bleeding digit against the rock face. For a moment, nothing happened. Then blue light spread outward from her hand, tracing what appeared to be the outline of a doorway in the solid stone. The rock within the outline shimmered and dissolved, revealing a narrow passage beyond. "After you, my king," Luna said with a small smile. Harry entered first, wand lit and ready. The passage extended straight into the mountain, its walls smooth and faintly luminescent. After about 50 feet, it opened into a circular chamber that took their breath away. The ceiling arched high overhead, a perfect dome inlaid with what appeared to be stars that twinkled with actual light. The walls were lined with shelves containing books, scrolls, and artifacts of clearly ancient origin. At the center of the room stood a round table of dark wood, its surface carved with symbols similar to those in Morgana's cave, but more ordered, more precise. "Merlin's sanctum," Luna whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's been waiting for us." Harry moved further into the chamber, noting other doorways leading off to additional rooms. "It's like a complete living space. Bedrooms, what looks like a laboratory, maybe a library." "A sanctuary," Luna corrected, running her fingers reverently over the round table. "A place of safety and learning." As she touched the table, the starlights in the ceiling brightened. A section of the floor at the far end of the chamber began to glow, and from it rose a figure, not a ghost, but a magical projection of a tall, bearded man in midnight blue robes. Though transparent, he appeared more solid than any ghost Harry had ever seen. "Emery's," Luna breathed. The figure of Merlin, for it could be no one else, turned slowly until he faced them. His eyes, even in projection form, held wisdom and power that seemed to look through them rather than at them. "My blood returns," he said, his voice resonant yet distant, as if speaking across centuries. "And with a king." His gaze fixed on Harry, studying him with unnerving intensity. Not of Arthur's line, yet worthy nonetheless. Harry found himself standing straighter under that gaze. "You're preserved somehow. Like a portrait?" Merlin's projection smiled slightly. "A memory, given form through magic. Not alive, not conscious, but programmed to respond to those who bear my blood and the crown of stars." He gestured to Harry's ring. "We need your help," Luna said, stepping forward. "The Hollow Court seeks to use your magic to access Morgana's power." Merlin's expression darkened. "The Hollow Ones persist, then. I had hoped time would diminish their misguided cause." "You knew them?" Harry asked. "I created them," Merlin said simply. "Or rather, my actions did. When I chose structure over chaos, pattern over randomness, those who followed Morgana's path felt betrayed. They retreated to the Hollow Hills, places of wild magic, and swore to restore what they called the true balance. By using Merlin's air," Luna said. "By corrupting Merlin's air, the projection corrected. My blood carries power, but power without direction brings only destruction. That is why I created the bond of crown and staff, to ensure that wisdom would always guide strength." Harry felt the weight of responsibility settle more firmly on his shoulders. What do they plan to do if they capture Luna? Use her blood to awaken Morgana's artifacts, tools of raw, unfiltered magic that have lain dormant since her defeat. With these, they believe they can reshape magical practice throughout the world, removing the structures and limitations that have protected both magical and non-magical beings for centuries. "That sounds..." Harry began. "Catastrophic," Luna finished. "Magic needs some structure, some rules. Not rigid ones, perhaps, but guidelines." Merlin nodded approvingly. "You understand, daughter of my line. Balance is not found in extremes but in the middle path." "How do we stop them?" Harry asked practically. "You already possess what you need." Merlin gestured to their joined hands. Harry hadn't even realized they were holding hands until that moment. "The bond between you grows stronger each day. When fully realized, your combined power will be sufficient to counter anything the Hollow Court might wield. But we're still learning how to use it," Luna pointed out. "Then learn quickly." Merlin moved to the round table, passing his transparent hand over its surface. The wooden top shimmered and became something like a three-dimensional map, showing locations throughout Britain. Points of light glowed at various places. "Convergence points," the projection explained. "Places where magical currents meet and amplify. The Hollow Court will seek to capture you at one of these, where their power is greatest." One light shone brighter than the others, a familiar location in northern Scotland. "Hogwarts," Harry said. "It's built on a major convergence point." "The greatest in Britain," Merlin confirmed. "Which is why your instinct to go there was both wise and dangerous. The school's protections are formidable, but the Hollow Court has agents everywhere, especially in places of magical significance." Luna studied the map carefully. "They'll expect us to go to Hogwarts for protection." "Indeed. Their High Seer will have foreseen it." Merlin's image flickered slightly. "My time grows short. This projection can only maintain coherence briefly after so many centuries." "Wait," Harry said urgently. "What should we do? Where should we go?" Merlin's fading gaze met his. "Trust the bond between you. It will guide your path when all else fails." His attention shifted to Luna. Remember, daughter, your blood gives power, but your heart gives purpose. One without the other leads to ruin. With those cryptic words, the projection dissolved into motes of blue light that drifted back into the floor. Harry and Luna stood in silence for several moments, processing what they'd learned. Well, Harry said finally, that was both helpful and completely unhelpful at the same time. Luna laughed softly. Very wizardly of him. They turned their attention to the magical map still displayed on the table's surface. The convergence points glowed steadily, a network of power spread across Britain. He said the Hollow Court would try to capture us at one of these points, Harry mused. But there are dozens of them. They'd choose one where they have strength, Luna reasoned. Somewhere connected to Morgana. She traced the map with her finger, stopping at a point in southwest England. Here. Glastonbury Tor. It's associated with Avalon in Arthurian legend, Morgana's stronghold. Harry nodded slowly. So we avoid it. No, Luna said, her silver eyes gleaming with sudden determination. We go there first. What? That's exactly what Merlin warned against. He warned that they would expect us to go to Hogwarts, Luna corrected. So we do the unexpected. We choose the battlefield, not them. Harry stared at her. You want to deliberately go to one of Morgana's power centers? Where the Hollow Court is strongest? Where they're strongest, but not necessarily most numerous, Luna explained. They're watching Hogwarts, expecting us there. Glastonbury might have only a token presence, enough to monitor the site, but not a full force. It was risky, but Harry could see the logic. A preemptive strike. Exactly. Luna's expression was unusually fierce. I'm tired of being hunted. It's time we learned more about our enemies, and the best way is to capture one of them for questioning. Harry considered the plan. It was dangerous, possibly reckless, but also bold and unexpected, qualities that had served him well in past confrontations. And with their growing magical bond, they were far from defenseless. All right, he decided. But first, we learn everything we can from this place. He gestured around the sanctum. Merlin left this for his heir. There must be knowledge here that can help us. Luna nodded eagerly. The library first. And perhaps the laboratory. I'd like to see what magical tools Merlin considered essential. They spent the next several hours exploring the sanctum thoroughly. The library contained texts so ancient that some crumbled at a touch, while others seemed perfectly preserved by powerful stasis charms. Luna found a section specifically about the bond between Merlin's heirs and their chosen kings, which she studied intently. In the laboratory, they discovered equipment for potion-making far more sophisticated than anything they'd used at Hogwarts, along with crystal instruments whose purpose they could only guess at. The most valuable find, however, came in what appeared to be Merlin's personal study, a journal written in his own hand, detailing specific magical techniques developed for the heir-king bond. Listen to this, Luna said excitedly, reading from the journal. The true power of the crown and staff lies not in raw magical strength, but in synchronicity. When heir and king achieve perfect harmony, their magic transcends ordinary limitations, allowing for workings otherwise impossible. Sounds like what we've been doing instinctively, Harry observed. Yes, but he described specific techniques. Luna turned the page. The shield and spear technique allows the king to create an impenetrable defense while the heir simultaneously attacks through it, the shield permitting only magic from the bonded pair to pass. Harry nodded thoughtfully. That could be incredibly useful against multiple opponents. They practiced some of the simpler techniques described in the journal, finding that their existing bond made the learning process remarkably quick. By the time they were ready to leave the sanctum, they had mastered 3 of Merlin's specialized magical workings and had a theoretical understanding of several more. Luna also gathered select items from the laboratory and library, things small enough to carry but potentially useful in confronting the Hollow Court. Most valuable was a crystal pendant that Merlin's journal described as a focus amplifier, designed to strengthen the connection between heir and king when separated. Are we ready? Harry asked as Luna tucked the pendant into her pocket alongside the compass and shrunken chest. She nodded, her expression determined. As ready as we can be without more time. Then let's set a trap of our own. Harry offered his hand, and Luna took it without hesitation. Together, they left the sanctum, the entrance sealing behind them with no trace of its existence in the solid rock face. As they prepared to disapparate to Glastonbury, Harry felt a curious mix of apprehension and anticipation through their bond, both his own emotions and Luna's reflected back to him. They were taking the fight to the enemy. The hunters would become the hunted. Glastonbury Tor rose from the Somerset landscape like a sentinel, its distinctive tower visible for miles around. Even approaching under cover of gathering dusk, Harry could feel the magical energy of the place, ancient, wild, and powerful. They approached to a secluded spot at the base of the hill, concealed by a small copse of trees. From there, they could observe the Tor without being immediately spotted by anyone watching the site. "I count 2 figures near the tower," Harry murmured, scanning the hillside with a pair of omnioculars they'd found in the sanctum. "Robed, hooded. Probably hollow court." Luna nodded, her eyes slightly unfocused as she extended her magical senses. "There's a third by the stone circle on the eastern slope. And the Tor itself, it's saturated with magic. Older than Morgana, even. Can you tell if they've detected us?" Harry asked. "Not yet. The background magic is strong enough that our presence won't immediately stand out." Luna took the omnioculars, studying the robed figures carefully. "They're not constructs this time. Real people." "Better," Harry said grimly. "Constructs don't answer questions." They discussed their plan once more, a swift, coordinated strike to capture one of the Hollow Court members for interrogation. With the element of surprise and their combined magic, they had a good chance of success. "Ready?" Harry asked, drawing his wand. Luna nodded, her silver eyes gleaming in the fading light. "Remember the shield and spear. I'll take the offensive, you maintain our protection." Harry smiled slightly. "As you command, my sorceress." Luna returned the smile, a flash of her old dreamy self showing through her current focus. Such a cooperative king. They moved silently up the hillside, using a disillusionment charm for additional concealment. As they neared the top, Harry felt Luna's magic gathering, ready to be channeled through their bond. The 2 Hollow Court members stood near the tower, apparently engaged in casual conversation. Their guard was down, clearly not expecting trouble at what they considered their own stronghold. Harry and Luna positioned themselves about 20 feet away, hidden behind a stone outcropping. Through their bond, Harry sensed Luna's readiness. "Now," he whispered. In one fluid motion, they cancelled their disillusionment charm and attacked. Harry thrust his hand forward, creating a dome-shaped shield around both of them, while Luna sent a barrage of stunning spells directly through the shield, a feat impossible with ordinary magic. The first Hollow Court member fell immediately, caught completely by surprise. The second managed to raise a hasty magical barrier, deflecting Luna's initial spells. "Intruders at the tower," the hooded figure shouted, their voice magically amplified to alert others. "The third one's coming," Luna warned, sensing the approach of the guard they'd spotted earlier. Harry expanded his shield, making it larger and stronger as Luna continued her assault on the second Hollow Court member. The shield shimmered with blue-green energy, repelling counter spells that the hooded figure desperately cast. "We need one alive," Harry reminded Luna. She nodded, adjusting her attack. Instead of stunning spells, she sent out binding magic, tendrils of blue light that wrapped around their opponent's arms and legs despite their protective shield. The figure struggled, their hood falling back to reveal a middle-aged woman with intricate tattoos covering half her face. "You dare attack the Hollow Court on sacred ground," she snarled. "We dare quite a lot these days," Harry replied, maintaining the shield as he felt their third opponent approaching from behind. Without turning, he extended his free hand backward, channeling a portion of Luna's magic into a secondary shield just as the third Hollow Court member launched an attack. The spell, something nasty and purple, rebounded off Harry's shield and struck a nearby rock, which melted into a bubbling puddle. "Luna, the third one," Harry said tensely, feeling his concentration strain at maintaining two separate shields. Luna spun gracefully, her wand moving in a complex pattern as she sent a whirlwind of binding magic toward their new attacker. The figure, taller and broader than the others, dodged with surprising agility for their size. "Merlin's air grows stronger," the newcomer called, voice deep and resonant even through their magical distortion. "The High Seer will be pleased." "I doubt he'll be pleased when we interrogate his followers," Harry shot back. The tattooed woman had nearly freed herself from Luna's magical bonds. With a sharp gesture, Luna tightened them, adding a silencing charm for good measure. "Harry, take this one," she said, nodding to their now secured prisoner. "I'll handle the big one." Harry obliged, moving to secure the tattooed woman while maintaining the main shield around them both. Luna focused her attention on the third attacker, who was proving more magically adept than the others. "You cannot hope to defeat the Hollow Court," the large figure taunted, deflecting another of Luna's spells. "We have prepared for this moment for centuries. How's that working out for you so far?" Luna asked pleasantly, before unleashing a blast of pure magical force that the figure barely blocked. The impact still sent them staggering backward, momentarily disoriented. Luna seized the advantage, drawing deeply on her connection to Harry to fuel a complex binding spell they'd learned from Merlin's journal. Blue-silver chains materialized around the large figure, not just restraining physically but dampening their magic. The hooded person struggled briefly before going still, apparently recognizing the futility of resistance. "Well done," Harry said, impressed. He'd secured the tattooed woman and revived the first Hollow Court member they'd stunned, binding them as well. Luna approached the larger figure cautiously. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure remained silent. With a flick of her wand, Luna removed the hood, revealing a man with a heavily scarred face and eyes that glittered with fanatical intensity. "I am merely a seeker," he said, his voice no longer magically distorted but still deep and resonant. "One of many who serve the true path." "The path of Morgana," Harry said, joining Luna. "The path of unrestrained magic." The man's eyes flickered with surprise. "You understand more than we expected." "We understand enough to know your High Seer lied to us," Luna countered. "Darius Blackthorn pretended to help while planning to capture us all along." A thin smile crossed the scarred man's face. "The High Seer plays many roles. It is his gift." Harry felt a chill. "What do you mean, roles?" The man's smile widened. "He has walked among wizard kind for centuries, wearing many faces, guiding events from the shadows. Did you think a mere archaeologist could master the magic he wielded against you?" Luna's eyes widened. "He's immortal." "Not immortal. Long-lived. Sustained by Morgana's magic and his own unique talents." The man studied them with unsettling intensity. "Just as you are sustained by Merlin's blood and the crown of stars." Harry exchanged a glance with Luna. Through their bond, he sensed her processing this information, fitting it into what they already knew. "What does the Hollow Court really want?" she asked. "Not just to capture me, surely." "We seek the Great Conjunction," the man said, his voice taking on a reverent quality. "The moment when Merlin's and Morgana's magic can once again flow together, restoring the balance that was lost when they became enemies." "And how exactly would you achieve that?" Harry pressed. The man's eyes gleamed. "The High Seer has foreseen it. Under the celestial alignment, when the stars match their configuration at the moment of the original schism, Merlin's heir will unite with Morgana's vessel. Their combined power will wash away the artificial constraints that have bound magic for a millennium." Luna frowned. "Morgana's vessel? You mean a descendant of hers?" The scarred man laughed harshly. "Morgana left no descendants. Her vessel is the receptacle of her essence, preserved through the ages, waiting for the moment of reawakening. Harry felt a growing sense of dread. And when is this celestial alignment supposed to happen? Sooner than you might think, came a familiar voice from behind them. They spun to find Darius Blackthorn standing atop the Tor's tower, silhouetted against the darkening sky. Unlike at Tintagel, he made no pretense of friendliness now. His posture was commanding, almost regal, and power radiated from him in palpable waves. 3 nights from now, Blackthorn continued, his voice carrying effortlessly across the distance. When the moon is dark and the wandering stars align as they did when Merlin and Morgana parted ways. Harry raised his shield instantly, encompassing both himself and Luna. How did you find us? Blackthorn smiled coldly. Did you think you were the hunters here? I've been tracking your movements since you fled Tintagel. The moment you entered Merlin's sanctum, I knew exactly where you would go next. Luna tensed beside Harry. You can track Merlin's magic. Of course. Just as you can sense the workings of the Hollow Court. We are 2 sides of the same coin, Luna Lovegood. Blackthorn descended the tower steps with unhurried confidence. Though I must commend your boldness in coming here. It speaks well of your worthiness as Merlin's heir. Stay back, Harry warned, reinforcing the shield between them. Blackthorn stopped, eyeing the shield with professional interest. The shield and spear technique. You've been studying Merlin's journal, I see. Impressive progress for such a new bond. We're quick learners, Luna said calmly, though Harry could feel her tension through their connection. Indeed. Blackthorn gestured casually, and the 3 captured Hollow Court members disappeared. But still novices compared to those who have practiced such arts for centuries. Harry maintained the shield, even as he felt Blackthorn's magic pressing against it, testing, probing for weaknesses. What is Morgana's vessel? Luna asked directly. What are you planning to do with it? Blackthorn considered her for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Morgana preserved a portion of her essence before her final confrontation with Merlin. It lies dormant within a crystal focus, what history later called the Morgan Stone. With the blood of Merlin's heir, that essence can be awakened and channeled. Channeled into what? Harry demanded. Into a worthy vessel, Blackthorn said simply. One prepared through decades of study and magical attunement. Understanding dawned on Luna's face. You're the vessel. Blackthorn inclined his head in acknowledgement. I have dedicated my life to this purpose. When Morgana's essence merges with my prepared form, and Merlin's magic flows through your blood to catalyze the transformation, the artificial division of magical approaches will end. Resulting in chaos, Harry said flatly. Resulting in freedom, Blackthorn countered. Magic as it was meant to be, responding to will and intent rather than rigid formulas and arbitrary restrictions. Luna shook her head. That's not balance. That's replacing one extreme with another. You say that because you've been raised in Merlin's tradition. Blackthorn's expression softened slightly. I had hoped you might understand, given your natural affinity for seeing beyond conventional boundaries. That you might join us willingly. Never, Luna said firmly. Blackthorn sighed. A pity. It would have been easier, and less painful, with your cooperation. His amber eyes hardened. But the great conjunction will proceed regardless. Without warning, he thrust both hands forward. A wave of violet energy slammed into Harry's shield with such force that both he and Luna staggered backward. The shield held, but Harry felt the drain on his concentration immediately. Luna, he said tensely, we need to leave. Now. She nodded, already gathering her magic for emergency apparition. Through their bond, Harry channeled his will into strengthening their connection, preparing to transport them both to safety. Blackthorn must have sensed their intention. With a snarl of frustration, he redoubled his assault on the shield. Cracks began to appear in the blue-green energy field. You cannot escape your destiny, Luna Lovegood, he called. The Hollow Court will find you wherever you go. They can try, Luna replied, her voice steady despite the strain. She clasped Harry's free hand. Ready? Harry nodded, focusing all his remaining energy on maintaining the shield for just a few moments longer. Luna closed her eyes, drew a deep breath, and triggered their escape. As they began to disapparate, Harry glimpsed Blackthorn's face contorted with rage, and beneath the rage, something that looked almost like fear. Then Glastonbury Tor vanished, replaced by the familiar surroundings of the Room of Requirement at Hogwarts. They collapsed onto cushions that the room helpfully provided, both gasping from magical exertion. The shield had drained Harry more than he'd realized, and Luna looked pale from the effort of operating them both through Blackthorn's interference. That, Harry panted, was too close. Luna nodded weakly. But informative. Despite their exhaustion, Harry couldn't help but laugh. Always the researcher. Even when nearly captured by a megalomaniac planning to merge with an ancient sorceress. Luna's lips quirked in a tired smile. It's the Ravenclaw in me. She sobered quickly. He's planning something terrible, Harry. Becoming Morgana's vessel, the magical backlash alone could be catastrophic. 3 nights, Harry said grimly. That's how long we have to stop him. Luna nodded, her silver eyes troubled. And he can track us through Merlin's magic. Nowhere is truly safe. Harry considered this. Not entirely true. Hogwarts has its own ancient protections. And the Room of Requirement is unique, it exists partially outside normal space. It might shield us temporarily, Luna agreed. But we can't hide forever. We need a plan to stop the Great Conjunction. Before Harry could respond, the door to the room opened. Both of them raised their wands instinctively, only to lower them in relief when Hermione entered, followed by Professor McGonagall. Thank goodness, Hermione exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace them both. Your Patronus said you were coming to Hogwarts, but when you didn't arrive, change of plans, Harry explained quickly. We went to Glastonbury Tor first. McGonagall's eyebrows rose nearly to her hairline. Deliberately seeking out a known Hollow Court stronghold. I see your penchant for reckless bravery remains intact, Potter. It was actually my idea, Luna admitted. Even more concerning, McGonagall said dryly, though a hint of approval flickered in her eyes. Nonetheless, you're here now, and apparently in one piece. Miss Granger has informed me of the situation in general terms, but I believe we need the complete story. Harry and Luna took turns explaining everything that had happened since the ritual in the Forest of Dean, their growing magical bond, the attacks by the Hollow Court, Blackthorn's betrayal, the discovery of Merlin's sanctum, and finally, their confrontation at Glastonbury and what they'd learned about the Great Conjunction. 3 nights, McGonagall said when they finished, her expression grave. Not much time to prepare. We need to find the Morgan Stone, Hermione said practically. Without it, Blackthorn can't complete the ritual. It could be anywhere, Harry pointed out. And the Hollow Court has had centuries to hide it. Luna had been unusually quiet during the last part of their explanation. Now she looked up, her silver eyes distant with thought. Not anywhere. Somewhere connected to Morgana. Somewhere with enough ambient magic to preserve her essence for a millennium. Another convergence point, Harry realized. Luna nodded. But which one? There are dozens across Britain. McGonagall moved to a table that the room had provided, spreading out a map of the British Isles. If we mark all known magical convergence points, perhaps we can narrow it down based on historical connections to Morgana. They spent the next hour identifying likely locations, with Hermione contributing her encyclopedic knowledge of magical history and McGonagall adding insights from her decades of magical study. Luna used the compass from Merlin's sanctum to confirm which sites still held significant magical energy. I think we can eliminate northern locations, Hermione said, crossing several off their list. Historical accounts place Morgana primarily in the south and west of Britain. And focus on water-connected sites, Luna added. Morgana was strongly associated with lakes and islands. This narrowed their options considerably. By the end of their session, they had identified 3 prime candidates: the Isle of Avalon, modern Glastonbury, a remote lake in Wales called Llyn Fan Foc, and a coastal site in Cornwall near Tintagel. Glastonbury seems most likely, Hermione observed. It's traditionally identified with Avalon, Morgana's stronghold. Too obvious, Luna countered. The Hollow Court wouldn't keep their most precious artifact at their most public site. It would be somewhere less known but equally powerful. Harry studied the map thoughtfully. What about the Welsh Lake? Llyn Fan Foc. It has potential, McGonagall agreed. Associated with the Lady of the Lake in some tellings, though that figure is often conflated with Morgana in later stories. Luna's eyes suddenly widened. Wait. The Lady of the Lake, who gave Arthur his sword. Excalibur, Harry said, following her train of thought. The weapon used to defeat Morgana's allies. What if, Luna said slowly, the Morgan Stone isn't at any of these places? What if it's connected not to Morgana's victories, but to her defeat? Understanding dawned on Hermione's face. The site where Merlin and Morgana had their final confrontation. Exactly. Luna turned to McGonagall. Professor, do historical records mention where that battle took place? McGonagall frowned thoughtfully. Not precisely. The accounts are fragmentary and often contradictory. Some place it at Camlin, where Arthur fell. Others at a stone circle now lost to time. Not lost, Luna said with sudden certainty. Hidden. She reached into her pocket and withdrew the compass, placing it on the map. This finds places connected to Merlin. But what if we reverse it? Use it to find where Merlin's magic is deliberately blocked or contained. Is that possible? Harry asked. With our bond, perhaps. Luna held out her hand to him. King and sorceress, working in opposition rather than harmony. Your will against mine. It was a theoretical technique they'd read about in Merlin's journal but hadn't attempted. Harry took her hand, feeling their magic surge at the contact. What do I do? He asked. Push back against my magic, Luna instructed. Create resistance rather than flow. Harry focused, imagining his will as a barrier against the current of Luna's power. It felt unnatural, almost painful, like swimming against a strong tide. Luna placed her other hand on the compass. Now I channel Merlin's magic through it, while you resist and redirect. She closed her eyes in concentration. The compass began to spin rapidly, the needle blurring with speed. Then, gradually, it began to slow, trembling as if caught between opposing forces. It's working, Hermione whispered, watching in fascination. With a final shudder, the needle came to rest, pointing not at any of their marked convergence points, but at a seemingly empty area in the southwest. McGonagall leaned closer, adjusting her spectacles. There's nothing magical recorded at that location. Exactly, Luna said triumphantly. A blind spot in our magical awareness. The perfect place to hide something you don't want a descendant of Merlin to find. Harry studied the map. It's in Dartmoor. Wild country, mostly uninhabited. And known for strange phenomena even Muggles notice, Hermione added. Perfect camouflage for powerful magical workings. Luna looked up at Harry, her eyes shining with determination. We need to go there. Find the Morgan Stone before Blackthorn can use it. Not tonight, McGonagall said firmly. You're both exhausted from your confrontation at Glastonbury. Rest here at Hogwarts, recover your strength, and set out in the morning. The castle's protections will shield you temporarily from the Hollow Court's tracking. Harry wanted to argue but couldn't deny the wisdom of McGonagall's words. He and Luna had pushed their magic to its limits today. Attempting another confrontation without rest would be foolhardy. One night, he conceded. We'll leave at first light. McGonagall nodded approvingly. I'll inform the other professors of the situation, discreetly. Additional wards will be placed on the castle tonight as a precaution. And I'll keep researching the Great Conjunction, Hermione promised. There might be a way to disrupt it even if we can't secure the Morgan Stone. As McGonagall and Hermione prepared to leave, the room of requirement transformed around them, creating a comfortable living space with 2 separate sleeping areas. Get some rest, McGonagall advised from the doorway. Tomorrow may prove even more challenging than today. When they were alone, Harry turned to Luna. She stood by the window the room had provided, staring out at the night sky where stars were beginning to appear. "You okay?" he asked softly. Luna didn't turn. "I keep thinking about what Blackthorn said. About me joining them willingly." Her voice was troubled. "Part of me understands the appeal of their vision. Magic free from constraints, responding purely to will and imagination. Isn't that what I've always believed in my own way?" Harry moved to stand beside her. "There's a difference between seeing beyond conventional boundaries and tearing down necessary ones. You've always understood that, Luna. It's why you're Merlin's heir, you balance wonder and wisdom." She turned to him then, her silver eyes searching his face. "And you? Why are you my king, Harry? Of all the people I know, why did Merlin's magic choose you?" Harry considered the question seriously. "Maybe because I've never wanted power for its own sake. I've only ever wanted to protect people I care about." He glanced down at the ring on his finger. "Including you." Luna's expression softened. Through their bond, Harry felt a warmth that had nothing to do with magic and everything to do with the connection growing between them. "We should rest," she said quietly. "Tomorrow we hunt for Morgana's legacy." Harry nodded, reluctant to break the moment but aware of the challenges ahead. "Good night, Luna." As he turned toward his sleeping area, her voice stopped him. "Harry. Thank you. For believing in me. For standing with me through all this." He looked back at her, silver eyes luminous in the dim light, blonde hair catching moonbeams from the enchanted window, the faint blue glow of Merlin's magic surrounding her like an aura. "Always," he promised. And through their bond, he felt her belief in that promise, a certainty as strong as magic itself. Chapter 3, The balance restored. Dawn broke over Hogwarts, painting the ancient stones with gold and amber light. Harry woke instantly, hand reaching for his wand before he'd fully opened his eyes. The room of requirement remained secure, its magic adapting to their needs during the night. Across the space, Luna already sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in meditation, a soft blue glow surrounding her. "Morning," Harry said, his voice still rough with sleep. Luna's eyes opened, silver and bright. "Your dreams were interesting." Harry felt heat rise in his cheeks. The bond between them had strengthened overnight, and apparently his sleeping mind had broadcast directly to hers. "Sorry about that." "Don't be," Luna replied with a small smile. "I found them quite educational." Before Harry could respond to that loaded statement, a knock sounded at the door. Hermione entered, already fully dressed with a stack of books floating behind her. "Good, you're awake. We have a lot to do." She directed the books to settle on a table the room helpfully provided. "I've been up all night researching the Great Conjunction. The celestial alignment Blackthorn mentioned is real, it happens once every 642 years. The last one coincided with the founding of Hogwarts." "Not a coincidence, I imagine," Luna said, rising gracefully to her feet. "Exactly. The founders chose that moment deliberately, harnessing the magical surge to establish the school's deepest protections." Hermione opened one of the books, revealing a star chart. "The alignment begins tomorrow night and reaches its peak just before midnight." Harry joined them at the table. "So that's our deadline." "Yes, and it gets worse." Hermione flipped to another page. "During the conjunction, the barriers between magical disciplines thin. Workings that would normally be impossible become viable, including the kind of essence transfer Blackthorn described." "Becoming Morgana's vessel," Luna murmured. With your blood as the catalyst, Hermione confirmed grimly. If he succeeds, the magical backlash alone could devastate Britain. And that's before whatever changes he plans to implement. Harry studied the star chart. Then we stop him today. Find the Morgan stone before he can use it. I've prepared for that too. Hermione pulled out a detailed map of Dartmoor. Based on the compass reading and historical accounts, I've identified 3 potential sites within this 5-mile radius where the stone might be hidden. Luna leaned over the map. Ancient sites, all of them. Standing stones, burial mounds, a sacred well. She traced the locations with her finger. We'll need to check each one. Not alone, came McGonagall's voice from the doorway. She entered, followed by Neville Longbottom and Luna Lovegood. Reinforcements, Neville explained with a grin. Hermione sent word last night. Harry felt a surge of gratitude. Neville. Good to see you. Wouldn't miss it, Neville replied. Fighting ancient evil, saving Britain, just like old times. McGonagall's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Mr. Longbottom has been assisting Professor Sprout this term. His expertise with magical plants could prove useful in Dartmoor's wilderness. And I've contacted others, Hermione added. Bill and Fleur are returning early from France. They'll meet us in Dartmoor. Ron's gathering more DA members who can be trusted. Harry nodded, appreciation warming his chest. Even after all these years, his friends still rallied without question. We should prepare, Luna said, practical despite her dreamy voice. The Hollow Court will be watching all these sites. Indeed, McGonagall agreed. Which is why you'll need this. She removed a small velvet pouch from her robes. A gift from the castle, you might say. Inside lay a crystal vial containing swirling silver-gold liquid. What is it? Harry asked. Essence of disillusionment, McGonagall explained. Phileas and I worked through the night to prepare it. More powerful than the charm, it will mask not just your physical presence but your magical signature as well. Luna studied the vial with interest. Hiding Merlin's magic. That's complex spellwork. The castle contributed some of its own power, McGonagall said with evident pride. Hogwarts protects its own. Harry pocketed the vial carefully. Thank you, Professor. Now, Hermione said briskly, let's discuss strategy. An hour later, they stood at Hogwarts' main gates, ready to depart. The plan was simple, split into 3 teams, each investigating one of the potential sites where the Morgan stone might be hidden. Harry and Luna would take the most promising location, an ancient stone circle deep in Dartmoor's wilderness. Neville and Ginny would check the burial mound, while Bill and Fleur, once they arrived, would investigate the sacred well. Remember, Hermione cautioned, observation only. If you find something, send a Patronus, and we'll all converge on your location. And if we encounter the Hollow Court? Ginny asked, twirling her wand with casual confidence. Disengage if possible, Harry said firmly. We're not looking for a fight, yet. Ron arrived with a crack of apparition, accompanied by Dean Thomas and Luna Lovegood. All set, he reported. Dean's brilliant with camouflage spells these days, works for the Ministry's Concealment Division. Dean nodded modestly. Happy to help. Luna filled me in on the basics. Their group now complete, Harry turned to Luna. Ready? She held up a small crystal, one of the tools they'd retrieved from Merlin's sanctum. This will amplify our magical signatures when we want to be found. A beacon, essentially. Perfect for springing our own trap, Harry said with a grim smile. McGonagall surveyed their assembled forces. Be careful, all of you. The Hollow Court has existed for centuries, they will not be easily outmaneuvered. With final nods of acknowledgement, the teams separated, each disapparating to their designated search areas. Harry and Luna, hands clasped to maintain their bond during transit, vanished last, leaving Hogwarts behind for the wild expanses of Dartmoor. They materialized on a windswept hilltop overlooking a desolate stretch of moorland. Granite tors rose from the landscape like the bones of ancient beasts, and mist clung to the valleys between the rolling hills. Despite the summer season, a chill pervaded the air, a coldness that felt more magical than natural. "Charming place," Harry muttered, casting warming charms over them both. Luna turned slowly, her silver eyes scanning the horizon. "The magic here is strange. Distorted somehow. Blackthorn's protections? Possibly." Luna retrieved the compass, which spun erratically before settling on a direction. "This way." They set off across the moor, wands ready but hidden beneath their cloaks. According to Hermione's research, the stone circle lay in a hidden valley about 2 miles from their arrival point, deliberately placed to be invisible from surrounding hilltops. As they walked, Harry felt the weight of their mission settling more firmly on his shoulders. "Do you think the others will find anything?" he asked. Luna considered. "The burial mound has strong protective magic, it would be a logical place to hide something valuable. The well connects to underground waterways, offering multiple escape routes. But this circle..." She gestured ahead. "It's special. I can feel it pulling at Merlin's magic inside me. Like it recognizes you? More like it's wary of me." Luna frowned. "As if it was specifically warded against Merlin's bloodline." That matched their theory about the Morganstone's location. Harry adjusted his grip on his wand, scanning the mist-shrouded landscape for any sign of movement. After an hour's hike through increasingly difficult terrain, they reached the edge of a small, hidden valley. Ancient oaks stood sentinel around its perimeter, their gnarled branches creating a natural barrier. "Down there," Luna whispered, pointing to a clearing in the center. Harry peered through the trees. In the heart of the valley stood a perfect circle of 13 stones, each about the height of a person. Unlike better-known sites like Stonehenge, these monoliths were dark, almost black, with veins of purple crystal running through them. The ground within the circle appeared scorched, as if burned by some ancient fire. "That doesn't look natural," Harry observed. "It's not." Luna's voice had gone very quiet. "Those are fulgurite formations, created when powerful magic strikes stone." "Battle scars?" Luna nodded. "I think we found it, Harry. The place where Merlin and Morgana had their final confrontation." They crouched at the tree line, studying the site. No obvious signs of recent activity disturbed the ancient circle, but both could sense the watchful presence of magic older than Hogwarts itself. "We should use the disillusionment potion," Harry suggested, reaching for the crystal vial McGonagall had provided. Luna caught his wrist. "Not yet. I need to sense the magic clearly first." She closed her eyes, extending her awareness. "There's something, beneath the central stone. A cavity or chamber." Harry focused, trying to feel what Luna sensed. Through their bond, he caught impressions: darkness, containment, a pulsing violet light. "The Morganstone?" he asked quietly. "I think so." Luna opened her eyes. "But accessing it won't be simple. The entire circle is warded." Harry studied the stones more carefully. Now that Luna mentioned it, he could see the faint shimmer of protective enchantments, not modern spells, but ancient workings etched into the very fabric of the place. "We'll need to disable the wards," he said. "Or bypass them somehow." Luna tilted her head thoughtfully. "Not disable. Harmonize with them." "What do you mean?" "These wards were created to keep Merlin's magic out," she explained. "But they're also Morgana's creation, designed to respond to her approach to magic. If we work with them rather than against them." Harry understood immediately. "We match our magic to their frequency. Like tuning an instrument." Luna smiled. "Exactly. But it will take both of us, your direction, my power." They discussed the technique briefly, drawing on what they'd learned from Merlin's journal. The principle was similar to their reversal of the compass, but more complex: requiring them to adjust their magical output to match the wild, flowing patterns of Morgana's wards. "Ready?" Luna asked, holding out her hands. Harry nodded, taking her hands in his. The moment they connected, their magic surged, blue-white light spilling from their joined fingers. Luna closed her eyes, channeling Merlin's power, while Harry focused on shaping it, not into structured forms as they usually did, but into flowing, organic patterns that mimicked the ward's ancient design. It felt unnatural, like writing with his non-dominant hand. Harry struggled to maintain the pattern, his instincts fighting against the chaotic flow. Through their bond, he felt Luna's steadying presence, guiding him subtly. Slowly, the light from their hands shifted from blue to violet as they matched the frequency of Morgana's magic. The wards around the stone circle flickered, recognizing something familiar in their approach. "It's working," Luna whispered, her eyes still closed in concentration. "Keep going." Harry focused harder, sweat beading on his forehead as he directed their combined magic into increasingly complex patterns. The wards pulsed in response, their resistance weakening. After what seemed like hours but was probably only minutes, a gap appeared in the shimmering barrier, just large enough for them to pass through if they moved carefully. "Now," Harry said, maintaining his concentration with effort. "Quickly." Still holding one of Luna's hands, he led them toward the circle, slipping through the gap in the wards just before it sealed behind them. Once inside, the oppressive weight of ancient magic pressed down on them, heavy and watchful. "The center stone," Luna murmured, pointing to the largest monolith. They approached cautiously. Up close, the stone was even more impressive, 12 feet tall and covered in spiraling symbols that moved subtly when viewed from the corner of the eye. At its base, nearly hidden by encroaching moss, was a small opening. Luna knelt, examining the aperture. "It leads to a chamber beneath. I can sense the stone there. Any more protections?" She nodded grimly. "Blood wards. Keyed to Morgana's magical signature." Harry frowned. "Can we bypass those too?" "Not easily." Luna sat back on her heels, thinking. "The blood wards would recognize me as an enemy, Merlin's heir. They might attack if I attempt entry." Harry considered their options. "What about me? I carry the crown of stars, but I'm not of Merlin's bloodline." Luna's eyes widened slightly. "That might work. The wards would register your connection to me, but without the direct bloodline, they might not trigger immediately." She looked concerned. "But it's risky, Harry. If they do activate." "It's worth trying," he said firmly. "We need that stone before Blackthorn arrives." Luna reluctantly agreed. They prepared carefully, establishing a magical tether between them so Luna could pull Harry back if necessary. Then, with a reassuring nod to Luna, Harry approached the opening alone. He knelt beside it, examining the small entranceway. Just large enough for a person to crawl through, it descended at a steep angle into darkness. Taking a deep breath, Harry illuminated his wand and began to crawl into the passage. The moment he crossed the threshold, he felt the blood wards activate, not attacking, but definitely aware of his presence. They seemed to be evaluating him, somehow. "I'm in," he called back to Luna. "The wards are active but not hostile." "Not yet, anyway." "Be careful," her voice echoed from behind. "If you sense any change, any aggression from the magic, pull back immediately." Harry continued forward, the passage gradually widening until he could stand in a small, roughly circular chamber carved from the living rock. At its center stood a simple stone pedestal, and upon it rested a crystal unlike any he'd seen before. The Morgan stone. About the size of his fist, it appeared black in the wand light, but when he moved, violet light shimmered within its depths, like galaxies swirling in the void. Even without touching it, Harry could feel the immense power contained within. "I found it," he called up the passage. "It's here. Can you retrieve it?" Luna's voice sounded tense. Harry studied the pedestal carefully. No obvious traps presented themselves, but that meant little with magic this ancient. I'm going to try. He extended his hand slowly, ready to snatch it back at the first sign of danger. As his fingers approached the stone, the swirling violet light within it intensified, responding to his proximity. The moment before he would have touched it, a voice spoke from the darkness behind him. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Potter. Harry spun, wand raised. Darius Blackthorn stood at the chamber entrance, his tall figure silhouetted against the passage. The Morgan stone doesn't take kindly to uninvited guests, Blackthorn continued conversationally. Especially those bonded to Merlin's heir. How did you find us? Harry demanded, though he already suspected the answer. Blackthorn smiled thinly. I've been watching this site for centuries. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when the wards were breached? He stepped fully into the chamber, his amber eyes reflecting the violet light from the stone. Though I must admit, your method was innovative. Harmonizing with Morgana's magic rather than fighting it. The girl has taught you well. Luna, Harry called, hoping his voice would carry up the passage. Trap. She can't hear you, Blackthorn said calmly. I sealed the entrance as soon as I arrived. Just the two of us now, King and Seeker. Harry kept his wand trained on Blackthorn, acutely aware of the Morgan stone pulsing behind him. What happens now? You try to take me hostage to force Luna's cooperation. Nothing so crude. Blackthorn circled slowly, forcing Harry to turn to keep him in view. I simply need you to step away from the stone. It's not yet time for it to be moved. 3 days until the conjunction, Harry said, playing for time. That's when you plan to use Luna's blood to awaken Morgana's essence. Precisely. Blackthorn seemed pleased by Harry's understanding. The alignment only lasts for a few hours. Everything must be perfectly prepared. Harry felt a faint stirring in his mind, Luna, reaching for him through their bond despite the sealed entrance. He maintained his outward focus on Blackthorn while opening himself to her contact. And after, he asked, keeping Blackthorn talking. When you've become Morgana's vessel? What then? Then the real work begins. Blackthorn's eyes gleamed with fanatical intensity. Magic freed from artificial constraints. A new age where wizards and witches can achieve their full potential without ministry restrictions or outdated formulas. Chaos, Harry said flatly. Creation, Blackthorn countered. From chaos comes new order. Better order. Through their bond, Harry felt Luna's presence growing stronger. She was working to breach Blackthorn's seal, but needed time. You've pursued this for centuries, Harry said, genuinely curious despite the danger. How have you lived so long? Blackthorn smiled, apparently pleased by the question. Morgana's magic sustains those who serve her truly. Not immortality, nothing so crude as Horcruxes, but an extended life to complete our sacred task. And the Hollow Court? They're all long-lived like you. Only the inner circle. The seekers you encountered are newer recruits, devoted, but not yet worthy of the blessing. Blackthorn sighed. Enough talk. Step away from the stone, Potter. I have no wish to harm Merlin's chosen king before the ritual. Harry felt Luna's urgent message through their bond, ready. On your signal. No, Harry said simply. I don't think I will. Blackthorn's expression hardened. Then I'll move you myself. He raised his hand, violet energy gathering at his fingertips. Before he could release it, Harry dropped to the ground, pressed his palm against the chamber floor, and channeled a massive surge of magic through the ring. The entire chamber shook violently as Luna, responding to Harry's signal, shattered Blackthorn's seal with an explosion of blue light. The ceiling cracked, debris raining down between Harry and the High Seer. In the confusion, Harry lunged for the Morgan stone. The moment his fingers touched the crystal, searing pain shot up his arm, the blood wards recognizing him as an enemy. Gritting his teeth, he grabbed the stone anyway, stuffing it into his pocket as he scrambled toward the passage. "No!" Blackthorn roared, blasting aside the fallen debris with a wave of his hand. "You don't know what you're doing." Harry didn't waste breath responding. He crawled up the passage as fast as he could, the stone burning against his leg even through the fabric of his pocket. Behind him, he heard Blackthorn pursuing, anger making his magic wild and destructive. Luna waited at the passage entrance, her face pale but determined. The moment Harry emerged, she grabbed his arm, pulling him to his feet. "Run!" They sprinted toward the edge of the stone circle, Blackthorn's furious shouts echoing behind them. The wards that had admitted them earlier now stood fully activated, a shimmering barrier blocking their escape. "Together!" Luna called, gripping Harry's hand tightly. Drawing on their bond, they thrust their joined hands toward the barrier. Blue-white light erupted from their fingertips, striking the ancient protections with the force of a battering ram. For a moment, nothing happened, then the wards shattered like glass, opening a path to freedom. They burst through just as Blackthorn emerged from the underground chamber, his face contorted with rage. "The stone belongs to Morgana," he shouted, hurling a blast of violet energy after them. Harry pulled Luna behind the nearest standing stone as the spell struck, leaving a smoking crater in the ground where they had stood moments before. "We need to get out of here," Harry gasped, the Morgan stone still burning painfully in his pocket. Luna nodded, already preparing for emergency apparition. "The others will have to meet us at the rendezvous point," Harry finished. He pulled out his wand, casting his Patronus even as Blackthorn circled around the stone searching for them. "To all teams, we have the stone. Meeting at Shell Cottage." Blackthorn in pursuit. The silver stag bounded away just as another blast from Blackthorn obliterated their hiding place. Stone fragments flew in all directions, forcing them to dive for new cover. "You cannot escape with the stone," Blackthorn called, his voice echoing unnaturally across the valley. "It's bound to this place by magic older than Britain itself." Luna glanced at Harry's pocket, where the stone continued to burn with increasing intensity. "He might be right. It's fighting your possession." Harry grimaced in pain. "We need to get it somewhere secure, bound or not." He had a sudden inspiration. The crystal from Merlin's sanctum, the containment one. Could it hold the stone temporarily? Luna's eyes widened. "Yes. But I'd need time to prepare it." Another blast destroyed their new hiding place, forcing them to keep moving. Harry made a split-second decision. "I'll distract him. Get clear and prepare the crystal. When I give the signal, be ready to apparate us both out." Luna looked reluctant but nodded. "Be careful. He's channeling Morgana's magic already, he's stronger than he should be." Harry squeezed her hand once, then darted out from behind the rocks, firing a barrage of spells to draw Blackthorn's attention. "Looking for this?" he shouted, patting his pocket where the stone burned. As expected, Blackthorn turned on him with singular focus, giving Luna the opportunity to slip away toward the tree line. "You're a fool, Potter," the High Seer snarled, stalking forward. "The stone will burn through your very flesh before you can take it from this valley." "Wouldn't be the first time I've carried something that tried to kill me," Harry replied, thinking of the Horcruxes. He kept moving, maintaining distance while ensuring Blackthorn's attention remained fixed on him. They circled the ancient battlefield, trading spells that crashed against hastily raised shields and scorched the already blackened earth. Through their bond, Harry felt Luna working frantically at the edge of the valley, preparing the containment crystal. Blackthorn was formidable, his centuries of magical study evident in every precisely cast spell and countered attack. But Harry had faced worse, had died and returned, had carried a piece of Voldemort inside him for years. In comparison, the burning pain of the Morgan stone was manageable. "You surprise me, Potter," Blackthorn called during a brief lull. "Most wizards would have succumbed to the stone's defense by now." "I'm not most wizards," Harry replied, using the moment to catch his breath. Through his bond with Luna, he sensed she was almost ready. And neither is Luna. Blackthorn's expression darkened. No, she is not. Which is precisely why she is needed for the ritual. He lowered his voice, almost conversational now. You care for her, don't you? More than just your duty as her king. Harry didn't respond, but something in his face must have confirmed Blackthorn's suspicion. Ah, the High Seer said with a satisfied smile. How predictable. The protector falls for his charge. His amber eyes gleamed. Would it comfort you to know she won't be harmed in the ritual? Merely, used. Her blood is all we require. You're not getting her blood, Harry said flatly. Or the stone. Bold words from a man cornered and outnumbered. Harry frowned in confusion, then tensed as he sensed movement behind him. Turning slightly, he saw robed figures emerging from the trees around the valley, at least a dozen members of the Hollow Court, wands raised and ready. You didn't really think I'd come alone, did you? Blackthorn asked mildly. The Hollow Court has waited centuries for this moment. We are quite thorough in our preparations. Harry's mind raced. He and Luna couldn't fight this many opponents, even with their combined magic. Through their bond, he felt Luna's alarm as she too noticed the newcomers. Ready, her thoughts came to him. But we're surrounded. Harry scanned the valley, looking for any escape route. The Hollow Court members had formed a complete circle around the ancient stones, closing in slowly. Blackthorn extended his hand. The stone, Potter. Give it willingly, and you both may leave unharmed. Force us to take it, and I cannot guarantee the girl's safety. It was a lie, of course. The moment Blackthorn had the stone, they would be disposable, or worse, Luna would be held for the ritual. Harry needed a distraction, something big enough to create an opening in their ranks. The answer came in an unexpected form. A silver otter bounded into the valley, Hermione's Patronus. Reinforcements coming, it announced in Hermione's voice. Hold position. The Hollow Court members turned toward the Patronus, momentarily distracted. In that instant, Harry made his move. Drawing deeply on his connection to Luna, he channeled magic through the crown of stars, directing it not outward but down, into the earth beneath the ancient battlefield. The ring on his finger blazed with blue fire as he sent a command through the bond, now. The ground trembled, then heaved violently as Harry's magic disturbed the converging ley lines beneath the stone circle. Fissures opened in the scorched earth, toppling several of the standing stones and sending Hollow Court members scrambling for stable ground. In the chaos, Luna sprinted from her hiding place at the edge of the trees, the prepared containment crystal glowing in her hand. She reached Harry's side just as Blackthorn regained his footing, fury contorting his features. The crystal. Harry gasped, pulling the burning stone from his pocket. It glowed with violet fire now, the pain almost unbearable. Luna held out the containment crystal, a clear, multifaceted gem about the size of an egg. As Harry dropped the Morgan stone into it, blue light erupted from Luna's hands, encasing the burning violet crystal in a cocoon of Merlin's magic. No! Blackthorn roared, lunging toward them. But it was too late. The containment was complete, the Morgan stone secured within Merlin's crystal. Luna clutched it tightly as Harry wrapped his arm around her waist. Stop them! Blackthorn commanded. The Hollow Court members still standing raised their wands in unison. Before they could cast, the air filled with the distinctive cracks of multiple apparitions. Bill and Fleur appeared at the eastern edge of the valley, wands already moving in complex countercurse patterns. Neville and Ginny materialized to the west, immediately engaging the nearest Hollow Court members. Ron and Dean appeared moments later, followed by more DA members responding to Hermione's call. Now! Harry shouted. Using the distraction of their arriving allies, he operated with Luna, the contained Morgan stone clutched tightly between them. They materialized on the windswept cliff outside Shell Cottage, the sea crashing against the rocks below. Luna staggered, the effort of containing the stone clearly taxing her strength. Inside, Harry urged, supporting her toward the cottage. We need to secure it properly. Once inside, Luna placed the containment crystal on the kitchen table. The Morgan stone still pulsed with violet light within it, but the burning sensation had ceased. Merlin's crystal had neutralized its harmful effects, at least temporarily. Will it hold? Harry asked, examining the nested crystals. Luna nodded, though she looked exhausted. For now. The containment is drawing on my magic through our bond. She sank into a chair. But it's fighting hard, Harry. We can't keep it like this indefinitely. Harry sat beside her, taking her hands in his. Through their connection, he could feel the strain on her magic, like a dam holding back a flood. What are our options? We could destroy it, Luna suggested. Break the physical vessel and disperse Morgana's essence. Is that safe? She shook her head slowly. No. The magical backlash might be catastrophic. And if even a fragment survived, Blackthorn could potentially still use it. Harry frowned, thinking hard. What about returning it to Merlin's sanctum? If anywhere could contain it safely, Blackthorn knows we've been there, Luna reminded him. It would be the first place he'd look once he regroups. Before they could discuss further, multiple cracks of apparition sounded outside. Harry jumped to his feet, wand ready, but relaxed when he recognized Hermione's voice calling a prearranged password. The kitchen quickly filled with their allies, some bearing minor injuries from the skirmish but all alive and intact. Blackthorn escaped, Ron reported grimly, accepting a healing charm from Hermione for a cut on his cheek. Disappeared with about half his followers before we could corner them. But we captured 3, Neville added with satisfaction. Bill's got them secured outside, some cursebreaker trick that dampens their magic. Luna looked up sharply. Captured Hollow Court members. That's useful. Harry caught her meaning immediately. Interrogation. They might know Blackthorn's backup plans. Bill entered, his scarred face serious. The prisoners are secure, but they won't talk easily. Fanatics, the lot of them. They'll talk to me, Luna said, rising from her chair with new determination. Despite her exhaustion, her silver eyes blazed with purpose. I'm what they've been waiting for, after all. Harry moved to her side. You sure about this? She nodded. They believe I'm Merlin's heir reborn. That carries weight, even with Morgana's followers. Worth a try, Bill agreed, leading them outside where 3 Hollow Court members knelt on the grass, bound by glowing chains of Bill's creation. Their hoods had been removed, revealing 2 men and a woman, all bearing the same intricate facial tattoos they'd seen on other members. Luna approached them calmly, the contained Morgan stone in her hands. The prisoner's eyes fixed on it immediately, expressions ranging from reverence to fear. You know what this is, Luna said, not a question but a statement. The woman, older than the others with gray streaking her dark hair, nodded almost imperceptibly. And you know who I am, Luna continued. Merlin's heir, the woman replied, her voice hoarse but steady. The awakened blood. Then you understand the position you're in. Luna held the contained stone higher, letting Merlin's magic flare visibly around it. Your High Seer has failed to claim what he sought. His plan for the Great Conjunction is compromised. The prisoners exchanged uneasy glances. The younger of the 2 men spoke up, defiance in his tone. The High Seer has prepared for centuries. One setback means nothing. A setback? Luna raised an eyebrow. We have the Morgan stone. Without it, how can he proceed? The older woman smiled thinly. The stone is preferred, not required. Did you think one who has served Morgana for so long would not have contingencies? Harry stepped forward. What contingencies? None of the prisoners answered, their loyalty to Blackthorn evidently outweighing their fear. Luna changed tactics. The Great Conjunction is tomorrow night. Blackthorn needs my blood to catalyze Morgana's essence. Where will he perform the ritual if not at the stone circle? Again, silence met her question. But Harry noticed something, a flicker of surprise in the younger man's eyes at Luna's mention of the stone circle. That wasn't his planned location anyway, was it? Harry pressed, focusing on the man. The circle was just where the stone was hidden. The man's eyes darted away, but not before Harry caught the confirmation in them. Of course, Luna breathed, understanding dawning. The circle holds too much of Merlin's residual magic from their battle. He'd want somewhere dominated by Morgana's influence. Tintagel, Harry said suddenly. That's why he was excavating there, preparing the site. The older woman's expression hardened, telling them they'd struck close to the truth. Not Tintagel itself, Luna corrected, studying the prisoners carefully. Somewhere nearby. The cave system, perhaps. You will not stop what has been foretold, the woman said coldly. The Great Conjunction comes regardless of your interference. Morgana's essence will find its vessel, and magic will be freed from Merlin's corruption. Luna knelt before the woman, bringing them eye to eye. I don't seek to stop the conjunction, she said softly. I seek to balance it. Confusion flickered across the woman's tattooed face. What do you mean? Merlin and Morgana weren't meant to be enemies, Luna explained, her voice gentle but firm. Their approaches to magic were complementary, not contradictory. Structure needs freedom. Freedom needs structure. Neither can exist healthily without the other. The younger man looked troubled by her words, while the older woman remained skeptical. The third prisoner, silent until now, finally spoke. The Tome of Division speaks of this, he said quietly. Of the harmony before the sundering. The woman hissed at him to be silent, but Luna pressed the advantage. Yes. Before they became enemies. What if that harmony could be restored? Not through Morgana dominating Merlin's legacy, but through true balance. Impossible, the woman snapped. The bloodlines are too far separated now. Are they? Luna held up her hand, where a faint scar remained from the blood she'd used to enter Morgana's cave with Blackthorn. My blood activated Morgana's scrying pool. It recognized something in me beyond just Merlin's legacy. Harry watched in fascination as uncertainty crept into the prisoners' expressions. Luna was weaving a compelling narrative, one that appealed to their core beliefs while offering an alternative to Blackthorn's more destructive approach. The High Seer speaks only of domination, Luna continued. Of Morgana's magic overriding Merlin's order. But what if the prophecies speak of reconciliation instead? Of the bloodlines reunited? The merging of waters, the third prisoner murmured, earning another glare from the woman. It's in the oldest texts. Luna nodded encouragingly. Tell me about the merging of waters. Despite the woman's warning look, the man continued. An ancient prophecy. When Merlin and Morgana parted ways, it was said that one day their powers would flow together again, like two rivers joining to form a mightier whole. That's what I offer, Luna said simply. Not destruction of either tradition, but harmony between them. The younger man looked openly interested now. And how would you achieve this, harmony? First, by understanding Blackthorn's full plan, Luna replied. Help us, and I give my word as Merlin's heir that I will seek balance, not victory. A tense silence followed as the prisoners considered her offer. Finally, the third man spoke again, ignoring the older woman's furious expression. Blackthorn prepares the ritual at Merlin's cave, the true cave, not the tourist attraction. It lies beneath Tintagel Castle, accessible only at low tide through a passage in the cliffs. Why there? Harry asked. It sits at the junction of land and sea, where Morgana's magic naturally flows into Merlin's domain. The boundary strengthens both traditions. Luna nodded thoughtfully. And his contingency, now that we have the stone. The man hesitated, then continued. The High Seer carries a fragment of Morgana's essence within himself already, a splinter taken from the stone centuries ago. In the absence of the full stone, he can use this fragment to initiate the transformation, though it will be incomplete. More dangerous, you mean, Harry clarified. Yes, the man admitted. Without the stone's stabilizing influence, the influx of Morgana's full power could overwhelm even one as prepared as Blackthorn. The results would be unpredictable. Catastrophic, Luna translated. Potentially. The man looked troubled. Not all of us sought such destruction. Many joined the Hollow Court seeking magical freedom, not magical chaos. The older woman spat on the ground. Traitor. Luna ignored the outburst, focusing on the cooperative prisoner. When will Blackthorn begin the ritual? The alignment peaks at midnight tomorrow, but preparations must begin at sunset. The cave will be accessible from approximately 4 hours before high tide until 2 hours after. Harry did some quick mental arithmetic. That gives us a narrow window to infiltrate the cave. And you won't get far, the woman sneered. The High Seer has summoned all members of the Hollow Court to witness the conjunction. Dozens of the faithful will guard every approach. That was valuable information in itself. Harry exchanged a look with Luna, who nodded slightly. Thank you for your cooperation, she said to the informative prisoner. Your assistance will be remembered when the balance is restored. They returned to the cottage, leaving Bill and Dean to guard the prisoners. Inside, the others gathered around the kitchen table where the contained Morgan stone still pulsed with violet light. So Blackthorn plans to use a fragment of Morgana's essence he already carries, Hermione summarized after Harry and Luna related what they'd learned. At Merlin's cave, during tomorrow night's alignment. With heavy guard from the entire Hollow Court, Ron added grimly. Not exactly easy access. Neville leaned forward. Could we use the Morgan stone somehow? Turn his own plan against him? Luna looked thoughtful. Perhaps. But not in the way you might think. She studied the contained crystal. The stone isn't just Morgana's essence, it's the purest record of her original magic, before it became corrupted by bitterness and rivalry. Her true intent, Harry realized. Before the conflict with Merlin. Exactly. Luna's silver eyes gleamed with inspiration. What if, instead of destroying it or hiding it, we used it to stabilize the ritual? To ensure that what emerges isn't just Morgana's destructive aspects, but her true wisdom. Hermione frowned. You're suggesting we let the ritual happen? That seems incredibly risky. Not let it happen, Luna corrected. Guide it. The conjunction will occur regardless of our actions. The magical energies will seek release. Better to direct them into harmony than allow Blackthorn's corrupted version to explode uncontrolled. It makes a certain sense, Bill acknowledged. In curse breaking, we often find it safer to redirect cursed energy than try to contain it indefinitely. Harry considered Luna's proposal carefully. We'd need to infiltrate the cave, overcome Blackthorn and his followers, and somehow take control of the ritual at its critical moment. While keeping Luna safe, Ron added firmly. Since she's their primary target. Luna shook her head. I have to be there, Ron. My blood is necessary regardless of whose version of the ritual occurs. Then we need a plan, Hermione said decisively. A way to approach that doesn't involve fighting through the entire Hollow Court head-on. They spent the next several hours developing their strategy, drawing on each person's unique skills and knowledge. Bill's expertise with ancient magical sites proved invaluable, as did Fleur's surprisingly extensive knowledge of elemental magic. Water amplifies transformation, she explained. That is why Blackthorn chooses a sea cave. But it can also dilute, weaken the concentration. This could be useful, no? By nightfall, they had outlined a daring approach. Rather than attacking directly, they would split into 3 teams. One would create a diversion to draw away some of Blackthorn's forces. Another would approach from the sea during high tide, when the Hollow Court would expect the cave to be inaccessible. The main team, Harry, Luna, Hermione, and Bill, would enter through a secondary passage that Bill believed existed based on his study of the area's magical topography. It's a good plan, Neville said, reviewing their notes. But a lot could still go wrong. It's still better than letting Blackthorn complete his version of the ritual unopposed, Harry pointed out. At least this way, we have a chance to shape the outcome. As the others began preparing equipment and reviewing their roles, Harry drew Luna aside to the small sitting room overlooking the sea. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. "Using your blood in the ritual, even our version, is dangerous." Luna's expression was serene but determined. "I'm sure. This is what Merlin's magic has been preparing me for, not to defeat Morgana's legacy, but to reconcile with it." Harry studied her face, noting the subtle changes since their bond had formed. The dreaminess remained, but tempered now with focus and purpose. Her silver eyes held wisdom beyond her years, yet still sparkled with her unique perspective on the world. "There's something I've been wondering," he said. "Why did you choose me? As your eternal king, I mean. You never really explained." Luna smiled softly. "Didn't I? I thought it was obvious." "Not to me." She took his hand, the one wearing the crown of stars. "Harry, you've always seen me. Really seen me, not just the oddity that others dismissed. Even before all this," she gestured to encompass their magical bond, the contained stone, their current predicament, "you treated my differences as something valuable, not something to mock or tolerate." "Because they are valuable," Harry said simply. "Your perspective has saved us more than once. And that's exactly why." Luna's fingers tightened around his. "The Eternal King isn't just a magical focus for Merlin's heir. He's a balance, someone who values both order and wonder, both courage and wisdom. Someone who understands that different doesn't mean wrong." Through their bond, Harry felt the absolute sincerity in her words, and something more, something warm and bright that had been growing between them since that night in the Forest of Dean. Before he could respond, Hermione called from the kitchen, breaking the moment. "Harry! Luna! We need to finalize the timing for tomorrow." Luna squeezed his hand once more before releasing it. "We should join them. Tomorrow will be challenging enough without missing details in the plan." Harry nodded, following her back to the kitchen while turning her words over in his mind. Different doesn't mean wrong. It was a simple statement, but it captured something essential about Luna, and perhaps about himself as well. As they rejoined the others, Harry felt a new resolve settling inside him. Whatever happened tomorrow at Merlin's cave, he would honor Luna's choice by being the king she believed he could be, a bridge between order and chaos, structure and freedom. The balance she sought started with them. The day of the Great Conjunction dawned clear and unnaturally still. Even the sea around Shell Cottage seemed hushed, as if holding its breath for the celestial alignment to come. Harry woke early, finding Luna already outside on the cliff edge, her face turned toward the rising sun. "Did you sleep?" he asked, joining her. "A little." She didn't look away from the horizon. "The magic is restless today. Can you feel it?" Harry extended his awareness through their bond. She was right, the ambient magical energy felt charged, like the air before a thunderstorm. "Will it affect our plans?" "It might make everything more powerful, both our magic and Blackthorn's." Luna finally turned to face him. "We should practice the synchronization technique one more time. If we need to take control of the ritual, our timing must be perfect." They spent the morning in final preparations. Harry and Luna refined their magical coordination while the others gathered supplies and reviewed their roles in the plan. By midday, a nervous energy had settled over Shell Cottage as everyone recognized the stakes of what they were attempting. "Remember," Hermione reminded them during their final briefing, "the conjunction peaks at midnight, but Blackthorn will begin preparations at sunset. We need to be in position well before then." "The diversionary team leaves first," Harry continued, nodding to Neville, who would lead that group. 2 hours before sunset, create enough disturbance at the main Tintagel site to draw attention without revealing our true target. The sea approach team follows," Ron added. His team, including Dean and Luna Lovegood, would take a small boat bewitched to navigate the treacherous coastal waters. We'll be ready to provide backup from the water entrance when the tide turns. Meanwhile, Bill concluded, the infiltration team enters through the hidden passage I identified. If my calculations are correct, it should lead directly to a secondary chamber adjacent to the main ritual site. The plan was as solid as they could make it with limited time and resources. Everyone knew their role, their timing, and their fallback positions if things went wrong. What about the stone? Ginny asked, nodding to the contained Morgan stone that still pulsed with violet light on the kitchen table. Who carries it? I will, Luna said firmly. It responds to Merlin's blood. Anyone else would find it difficult to manage, even with the containment. As the afternoon wore on, the teams made their final preparations. Neville's diversionary group left first, operating to positions around Tintagel where they could monitor hollow court activity before initiating their distraction. Be careful, Harry told Ron as the Sea Approach team prepared to leave. The waters around Tintagel are dangerous even without magical interference. We've got this, Ron assured him, though his expression was serious. Just make sure you and Luna stay in one piece. As sunset approached, the infiltration team gathered for departure. Harry, Luna, Hermione, and Bill would apparate to a secluded cove north of the main Tintagel site, then proceed on foot to the hidden entrance Bill had identified. Luna secured the contained Morgan stone inside a specially prepared pouch that dampened its magical signature. The stone had grown increasingly active as the day progressed, responding to the approaching alignment. Everyone clear on the timing? Harry asked, checking his watch, synchronized with all team members. Once Neville's diversion begins, we have 30 minutes to reach the passage. Bill leads until we're inside, then Luna guides us based on her connection to Merlin's magic. With final nods of determination, they disapparated, leaving Shell Cottage behind for the critical confrontation ahead. The secluded cove lay in deep shadow when they arrived, the setting sun blocked by towering cliffs. Bill immediately began checking for magical surveillance, while Hermione established a perimeter of protective enchantments. Clear so far, Bill reported. The passage entrance should be about 200 yards north, behind that outcropping. They proceeded cautiously along the narrow strip of beach, wands ready. Through their bond, Harry sensed Luna's heightened awareness, like a compass needle aligning to a powerful magnetic field. Her magic was responding to the site's ancient energies. Something's different, she murmured as they approached the rocky outcropping. The magic here has been altered recently. Bill frowned, kneeling to examine the wet sand near the cliff face. She's right. These are fresh magical traces, powerful ones. Blackthorn's been reinforcing the site's natural protections. Can we still get through? Hermione asked. Yes, but with more difficulty than anticipated. Bill stood, brushing sand from his hands. We'll need to move carefully, the new wards will alert him if disrupted too abruptly. Harry checked his watch. Neville's diversion should start in 5 minutes. That's our window. They positioned themselves near the cliff face where Bill indicated the hidden passage should be. As they waited, the last light of sunset faded, plunging the cove into near darkness broken only by the faint glow of their concealed wands. Precisely on schedule, a series of loud explosions echoed from the direction of Tintagel Castle. Bright flashes illuminated the sky above the headland, followed by what sounded like amplified dragon roars, an impressive illusion created by Neville's team. Now, Harry said. While they're distracted. Bill approached the cliff face, his wand moving in the complex patterns of a professional cursebreaker. Slowly, a shimmer appeared in the solid rock, revealing the outline of a narrow opening. Blackthorn's new wards are layered over the original protections, he explained quietly. I can create a temporary passage, but it will seal behind us. Ron's team will have to use the sea entrance exclusively. Understood, Harry confirmed. How long? 3 minutes, maybe less. Bill continued his careful work, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool evening air. Finally, with a soft sigh like releasing breath, the rock face parted to reveal a low tunnel leading into darkness. "Quickly," Bill urged. "It won't hold long." They entered in prearranged order, Bill first, then Luna, Harry, and Hermione bringing up the rear. The passage was cramped and wet, forcing them to crouch as they moved deeper into the cliff. Behind them, the opening sealed seamlessly, leaving no trace of their entry. "Lumos minima," Bill whispered, creating just enough light to navigate by without announcing their presence too obviously. They proceeded in silence, the only sounds their careful footsteps and the distant drip of water echoing through the stone. After several minutes of uncomfortable crawling, the passage widened and heightened enough for them to stand. "We're under the headland now," Bill murmured. "Getting close to the main cave system." Luna paused, her head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. "Merlin's magic was strong here once," she said softly. This was indeed his place before Morgana claimed it. "Can you sense the ritual site?" Harry asked. She nodded. "Ahead and below. There's considerable magical activity already." "Blackthorn's preparations," Hermione said grimly. "We need to hurry." They continued forward, the passage now sloping downward toward sea level. The air grew salter, and the distant sound of waves echoed through the stone. After another 10 minutes of careful progress, Bill held up a hand, signaling them to stop. "Junction ahead," he whispered. "Based on my research, the left passage leads to the main chamber. The right likely connects to the sea entrance Ron's team will use." Luna closed her eyes briefly. "Left is correct. I can feel the concentration of preparations." "How many people?" Harry asked. "Hard to be precise," she replied. "But many. Dozens, at least." "Neville's diversion should have drawn some away," Hermione pointed out hopefully. "Only one way to find out." Harry nodded to Bill, who led them toward the left passage. As they approached the final bend before the main chamber, they paused to implement the next phase of their plan. Hermione removed from her beaded bag 4 vials of the disillusionment potion McGonagall had provided. "Remember," she cautioned as they each took one, "this will mask our presence initially, but active spellcasting will make us partially visible. Use magic only when absolutely necessary until we're in position." They drank the potion simultaneously. The sensation was similar to the disillusionment charm but more profound, a feeling of not just invisibility but magical anonymity, as if one's very magical signature had been erased from existence. "Stay connected through touch," Harry instructed, finding Luna's invisible hand by instinct. "Bill leads, then Luna, me, and Hermione." With this arrangement, they proceeded around the final bend in the passage. The tunnel opened into a small alcove overlooking a vast underground chamber, Merlin's cave in its true form, not the tourist attraction above. The sight took Harry's breath away. The cave was enormous, its ceiling lost in shadows despite the numerous floating lights illuminating the space. The floor descended in natural terraces toward a central platform surrounded by seawater that filtered in through passages in the rock. Upon this island-like platform stood an altar of dark stone, its surface inscribed with symbols that shifted and moved when viewed directly. Around the chamber, at least 30 hooded members of the Hollow Court stood in concentric circles, chanting in a language Harry didn't recognize. At the altar stood Darius Blackthorn, his robes exchanged for ceremonial garments of midnight blue trimmed with silver, a deliberate mockery of Merlin's traditional colors. "The ritual has already begun," Luna whispered, her breath warm against Harry's ear despite her invisibility. "But it's preliminary only, setting the magical framework. The critical phase won't start until the alignment peaks." "Where's Ron's team?" Hermione murmured anxiously. "They should have reached the sea entrance by now." As if in answer to her question, a commotion erupted at the far side of the chamber, where a dark tunnel mouth presumably led to the sea. Shouts of alarm rose from the Hollow Court members stationed there. "Intruders at the sea entrance," someone called. Blackthorn looked up from the altar, irritation crossing his face. "Contain them," he commanded. The ritual cannot be interrupted at this stage. A dozen hollow court members broke from their positions, rushing toward the disturbance. Through the chaos, Harry caught glimpses of spell fire, Ron's team engaging the guards, providing exactly the distraction they needed. Now, Harry breathed. While they're divided. Still invisible, the four of them descended from their alcove, using a narrow path that wound down the chamber's edge toward the ritual platform. They moved carefully, avoiding the remaining hollow court members who maintained their positions in the outer circles. When they reached the lowest level, where water lapped against stone just yards from the ritual platform, Luna squeezed Harry's hand in warning. Through their bond, he felt her concern, something wasn't right. The water, she whispered. It's been infused with potion. Some kind of detection mechanism. Harry relayed this to Bill, who crouched invisibly at the water's edge. After a moment of examination, his voice came softly, Revelio essence. Anyone but a hollow court member who touches it becomes visible immediately. Can we neutralize it? Hermione asked. Not without revealing our presence, Bill replied. We need another approach. Harry surveyed their position. The ritual platform stood about 15 feet away across the water, accessible only by a narrow stone bridge currently guarded by two hollow court members. Beyond them, Blackthorn continued his preparations, placing objects at specific points around the altar. We need a diversion here too, Harry decided. Something to clear the bridge. Hermione's voice came from his left. I have an idea. Keep your wands ready. Before they could ask what she planned, a strange sound emanated from the far side of the chamber, a hollow, eerie wailing that echoed off the stone walls. The hollow court members turned in alarm, searching for the source. The spirits rise, Hermione's voice carried across the chamber, magically distorted to sound otherworldly. The ancient guardians awaken. Who dares disturb their rest? It was brilliant improvisation. The hollow court members murmured nervously, several abandoning their positions to investigate the disturbance. The guards on the bridge hesitated, looking to Blackthorn for direction. Ignore it, the High Seer commanded. Maintain the ritual circle. Nothing must, he broke off, his amber eyes narrowing as he stared directly at the water's edge where they crouched, still invisible. For a heart-stopping moment, Harry thought they'd been discovered. Then Luna's voice came in his mind through their bond, he senses Merlin's magic. The stone is responding to proximity. Indeed, Harry could feel the contained Morgan stone pulsing more strongly in Luna's pouch, its violet energy straining against Merlin's crystal. They're here, Blackthorn announced, a slow smile spreading across his face. Merlin's heir approaches, as foretold. Perfect. With a gesture, he sent a wave of energy across the water. The disillusionment potion's effect shattered like glass, leaving the four of them exposed on the chamber's edge. Welcome, Blackthorn called, seemingly genuinely pleased. You've arrived just in time to witness history, or rather, to help create it. Harry and the others stood, wands raised defensively. There was no point in pretending now. We're here to stop you, Harry called back. Your version of the ritual will bring chaos, not balance. Blackthorn laughed, the sound echoing through the vast chamber. Stop me. My dear boy, you've brought exactly what I need directly to my altar. His gaze fixed on Luna. Merlin's heir, with the Morgan stone itself. The conjunction approaches perfection. With another gesture, the water between the shore and the ritual platform surged upward, forming a wall of liquid that rushed toward them. Bill reacted instantly, conjuring a barrier of his own, but the magical water flowed around it, surrounding them on all sides. Hermione! Harry shouted as the water began to constrict around them. She was already casting, her wand describing complex patterns in the air. The water froze mid-movement, forming a crystalline structure that held them safe momentarily. It won't last, she warned. This is elemental magic, extremely powerful. Luna stepped forward, removing the contained Morgan stone from its pouch. The moment it was exposed, the water reacted, pulling back as if repelled by the violet light pulsing within Merlin's crystal. Interesting, Blackthorn observed from the platform. Morgana's essence recognizes its vessel, even contained by Merlin's magic. He extended his hand. Bring it to me, Luna. Complete what was begun 1,000 years ago. Never, Luna replied calmly. Blackthorn sighed. I had hoped for willing participation, but the ritual will proceed regardless. He turned to the Hollow Court members still forming the inner circle. Bring her. Kill the others if necessary, but Merlin's heir must reach the altar alive. As the Hollow Court members advanced, the battle erupted in earnest. Harry, Hermione, and Bill formed a protective triangle around Luna, countering spells from all directions. Their position at the water's edge limited movement but also created a defensible bottleneck. Through the chaos of spell fire, Harry caught glimpses of the sea entrance, where Ron's team continued their own battle against the Hollow Court guards. They were holding their own, but couldn't break through to provide reinforcement. We need to reach the altar, Luna said between casting defensive spells. The ritual must be guided, not prevented. Bit difficult with an army between us and it, Bill replied, deflecting a nasty-looking purple curse. Harry felt a plan forming. Luna, can you use our bond to boost a shield charm? Something strong enough to get us across the bridge? She nodded, understanding immediately. The shield and spear, but larger. They moved closer together, their free hands connecting while they maintained spellcasting with their wands. Through their bond, Harry felt Luna's magic surge into him, raw, powerful, eager to be shaped. Ready? He asked. Now, she confirmed. Harry thrust his wand forward, channeling Luna's magic into the most powerful shield charm he'd ever attempted. Blue-white energy erupted outward, forming not just a barrier but a wedge-shaped force that pushed forward, clearing a path through the attacking Hollow Court members. Move, he shouted to Hermione and Bill. Stay within the shield. Together they advanced, the shield cutting through opposition like the prow of a ship through waves. Hollow Court members were flung aside as they attempted to stand against the magical force, their spells dissipating harmlessly against its surface. They reached the stone bridge, now abandoned by its guards. As they crossed, Harry felt Blackthorn's magic rising to counter them, a swirling vortex of violet energy that sought to collapse their shield from above. Faster, Luna urged. He's drawing on the ritual framework's power. They sprinted the final distance, reaching the ritual platform just as Harry felt their shield beginning to crack under Blackthorn's assault. With a final surge of effort, he expanded the shield outward in all directions, temporarily clearing the platform of Hollow Court members and creating a momentary space around the altar. Blackthorn alone remained, standing behind the dark stone altar with an expression of amused interest rather than concern. Impressive, he acknowledged. The bond between you has grown stronger than I anticipated. His amber eyes gleamed. But ultimately futile. With a casual gesture, he sent a pulse of energy into the altar itself. The shifting symbols carved into its surface flared with violet light, and the entire platform began to vibrate beneath their feet. The alignment approaches, Blackthorn announced. Can you feel it, Luna? The convergence of celestial forces that occurs once in many lifetimes. Indeed, Harry could feel it through their bond, a pressure building in the magical atmosphere, like the moment before lightning strikes. Luna's magic responded to it, becoming more volatile, harder to direct. You've studied Merlin's techniques well, Blackthorn continued conversationally, as if they weren't in the midst of a battle. The shield and spear, the synchronization of will, the focusing of power through the crown of stars. He smiled thinly. But you've had mere days to learn what I've practiced for centuries. To demonstrate his point, he raised both hands. The air around the altar shimmered, and suddenly multiple versions of Blackthorn appeared, perfect duplicates surrounding them on all sides, each moving independently yet clearly controlled by a single will. Projection magic, Hermione gasped. That's supposed to be impossible. Merely difficult, all the Blackthorns replied in unison. Especially when one understands magic as Morgana did, as an extension of will rather than a servant of formula. The duplicates attacked simultaneously, each casting different spells from different angles. Harry's shield, already weakened, couldn't cover all approaches at once. A curse slipped through, striking Bill and sending him crashing to the ground. "Bill!" Hermione cried, dropping to her knees beside him while maintaining her own defensive casting. "Just stunned," Luna assessed quickly. "But we're running out of time." She was right. Through the chamber's open ceiling, Harry could see stars appearing in the night sky, stars moving into the alignment Blackthorn had awaited for so long. The magical pressure continued building, making it increasingly difficult to focus. "What's the plan?" Harry asked, deflecting another barrage from Blackthorn's duplicates. Luna's silver eyes fixed on the altar. "We complete the ritual before he does. On our terms." "How?" "My blood on the altar, but with the Morgan stone controlled by Merlin's magic." Luna held up the contained crystal, which pulsed with increasing urgency. "It needs to happen at exactly the right moment, when the alignment peaks." Harry nodded, understanding forming. "You need me to hold Blackthorn off while you prepare." "Both of you," Luna corrected, including Hermione. "And we need to revive Bill. His curse-breaking skills will be essential to modify the ritual framework." Hermione cast a quick renervate on Bill, who stirred groggily. "What happened?" "No time," Harry said tersely. "Can you analyze magical frameworks quickly?" Bill nodded, still disoriented but professional instincts kicking in. "If I can get close enough to the altar. Then let's make that happen." Harry reached for Luna's magic through their bond, drawing deeply on their connection. "Cover Bill. Get him to the altar. Luna and I will handle Blackthorn." Hermione helped Bill to his feet, and they implemented their desperate plan. Harry and Luna moved in perfect synchronization, combining shield and attack spells in the pattern they'd practiced at Shell Cottage. One would defend while the other attacked, then switch roles seamlessly, creating an unpredictable pattern that even Blackthorn's centuries of experience struggled to counter. Meanwhile, Hermione escorted Bill toward the altar, protecting him from stray spells as he began analyzing the ritual framework Blackthorn had established. The High Seer, realizing their intent, focused his duplicates' attacks on Bill. "You cannot modify what you do not understand," all the Blackthorns taunted. "This framework has evolved over centuries of preparation." "Maybe," Bill grunted, his wand moving in diagnostic patterns. "But all magic follows certain principles. Even yours." As their magical duel intensified, Harry became aware of a change in the chamber's atmosphere. The water surrounding the platform began to glow with an inner light, and the shifting symbols on the altar moved more rapidly, as if excited by the approaching alignment. 3 minutes until peak alignment, Blackthorn announced, his duplicates momentarily pausing their assault. "Feel it, Luna Lovegood." The moment Merlin feared and Morgana embraced, when the barriers between magical disciplines thinned to nothing. Luna didn't respond verbally, but Harry felt her acknowledgement through their bond. The magic within her was responding powerfully to the alignment, straining like a horse at the bit. "Harry," she said quietly, "I need you to trust me completely for what comes next." "I already do," he replied without hesitation. She smiled briefly, then turned to Bill. "The framework?" "Complex but not impenetrable," he reported. "The key nodes are here, here, and here." He pointed to specific symbols on the altar's surface. "Modify these, and you can reshape the ritual's outcome." "Good." Luna took a deep breath, then handed the contained Morgan stone to Harry. "Hold this. When I tell you, place it on the altar, exactly in the center." Before he could ask further questions, Luna turned to face Blackthorn directly. The High Seer had consolidated his duplicates back into a single form, conserving power for the ritual's critical phase. "Have you reconsidered?" Blackthorn asked. "There's still time to join me willingly. To share in the glory of magic reborn." "I have," Luna said, surprising everyone. But not as you imagine. She stepped forward, approaching the altar with calm determination. Harry tensed, ready to intervene, but felt Luna's reassurance through their bond. "Trust me. The Great Conjunction requires Merlin's blood," Luna acknowledged. "I offer mine freely, but on my terms." Blackthorn's amber eyes narrowed suspiciously. "What terms?" "Balance," Luna said simply. "True balance between order and freedom. Not Morgana dominating Merlin, or Merlin suppressing Morgana. But harmony between traditions." "Impossible," Blackthorn scoffed. "The divisions run too deep." "Only because both sides forgot what they originally sought," Luna replied. She reached the altar, standing opposite Blackthorn. "Look at the symbols your own ritual framework creates. Even you incorporated elements of both traditions, because deep down, you know the truth." Harry watched in fascination as uncertainty flickered across Blackthorn's face for the first time. The High Seer glanced down at the altar, where the shifting symbols had indeed formed a pattern that combined structured geometries with flowing, organic forms. "1 minute," Hermione warned, consulting her watch. Luna extended her hand toward Harry. "The stone." He approached, still holding the contained Morgan stone, which now pulsed so violently it was difficult to maintain his grip. As he neared the altar, Blackthorn seemed to shake off his momentary doubt. "No," the High Seer snarled. "You will not corrupt the ritual." He raised his hands, violet energy gathering at his fingertips. "The stone belongs to Morgana alone." Before he could strike, Luna drew the dragon-hilted dagger of Merlin from her robes and slashed it across her palm. Blood welled immediately, shimmering with blue light infused with Merlin's magic. "Now, Harry," she cried. As Blackthorn lunged forward, Harry placed the contained Morgan stone in the altar center. Simultaneously, Luna pressed her bleeding palm against it, her blood flowing over both Merlin's crystal and Morgana's stone within. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. Blue and violet light erupted from the contact point, spiraling upward in a double helix that reached toward the night sky visible through the cave's open ceiling. The alignment of stars directly overhead seemed to respond, their light intensifying and focusing on the magical column. Blackthorn froze, transfixed by the spectacle. "What have you done?" he whispered. "What was always meant to happen," Luna replied, her voice strangely doubled, as if someone else spoke through her. "The reunification of what should never have been sundered." The contained Morgan stone cracked open under the pressure of the combined magics, but instead of releasing destruction, its violet essence flowed into a new pattern, intertwining with the blue light of Merlin's magic rather than overwhelming it. Harry felt the change through his bond with Luna. Her magic wasn't being drained or consumed, but transformed, expanded to encompass aspects of both traditions. Through the crown of stars, he found himself part of this transformation, his role as Eternal King serving as an anchor and guide for the merging energies. Blackthorn staggered backward, his carefully constructed ritual spinning beyond his control. "No," he protested. "This isn't what the prophecies foretold." "Isn't it?" Luna's silver eyes glowed with inner light. "The merging of waters. The reunion of sundered traditions. The balance restored." The chamber began to shake as the magical energies continued to build. The remaining Hollow Court members fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the power radiating from the altar. At the sea entrance, the fighting had ceased entirely, all participants transfixed by the spectacle unfolding on the ritual platform. 30 seconds to peak alignment, Hermione called over the growing magical storm. Blackthorn made one final, desperate attempt to seize control. Reaching into his robes, he withdrew a small crystal shard, the fragment of the Morgan stone he had carried for centuries. "Morgana's essence responds to my call," he declared, pressing the shard against his own palm. "I am her chosen vessel." Violet light flared around him as Morgana's fragment activated. For a moment, his form seemed to waver, becoming something more and less than human, power incarnate but unstable, chaotic. "Harry," Luna called, her voice strained as she maintained contact with the altar. The balance needs both sides. Even him. Understanding what she meant, Harry stepped forward, extending his hand to Blackthorn despite every instinct screaming against it. Join the circle, he offered. Not as Morgana's vessel alone, but as part of the balance. Blackthorn hesitated, torn between his centuries-old ambition and the undeniable beauty of what was forming before him. The magic within him, wild, primal, distinctly Morgana's, surged visibly beneath his skin, seeking completion. 10 seconds. Hermione warned. With a cry that might have been rage or surrender, Blackthorn clasped Harry's offered hand. The moment they connected, the final circuit was completed. Blue-white light from Luna flowed through Harry to Blackthorn, while violet energy from the High Seer passed back through Harry to Luna. The alignment reached its peak overhead, stars forming a perfect configuration unseen for over 6 centuries. The double helix of energy expanded outward, encompassing the entire chamber in its glow. For one timeless moment, Harry felt connected to everything, to Luna's bright wisdom, to Blackthorn's ancient knowledge, to the very currents of magic that flowed through the world. Through the crown of stars, he guided these currents into harmony, preventing any one aspect from dominating. Then reality reasserted itself. The magical storm began to subside, the energies settling into new patterns within the chamber's stone. The light dimmed from blinding to merely brilliant, allowing Harry to see what had changed. Luna stood at the altar, her silver eyes now ringed with violet. The cut on her palm had healed, leaving a spiral pattern etched into her skin. The Morgan stone and its container had transformed into something new, a crystalline sphere where blue and violet energies danced in perfect equilibrium. Across from her, Blackthorn had undergone his own transformation. The fanaticism had faded from his amber eyes, replaced by something like wonder. The fragment he had carried for so long had dissolved, its essence integrated rather than dominant. Balance, Luna said softly, examining the new crystal sphere on the altar. Not victory or defeat. Partnership. Blackthorn stared at his hands, which no longer crackled with uncontrolled energy. After centuries, he murmured, to feel both sides within me, this was not what I sought, and yet. It's what was always meant to be, Luna finished for him. Around the chamber, the hollow court members were rising slowly, looking dazed but enlightened. The artificial divisions between magical traditions had not been destroyed, but rather recontextualized, shown to be complementary rather than contradictory. Ron's team approached cautiously from the sea entrance, wands still raised but uncertainty in their expressions. Is it over? Ron called. Harry nodded, feeling a profound exhaustion settling into his bones. It's over. And beginning. In the following hours, as dawn approached, the full extent of what they had achieved became clearer. The Great Conjunction had indeed transformed magic, but not in the catastrophic way Blackthorn had originally intended. Instead, the rigid boundaries between magical disciplines had become more permeable, allowing for greater innovation and understanding. The Hollow Court members, freed from centuries of single-minded purpose, found themselves facing a new reality, one where their tradition was valued but not exclusive. Many seemed relieved, as if a burden had been lifted. Blackthorn himself appeared almost younger, the weight of his long existence lightened by resolution. I was wrong, he admitted to Luna as they prepared to leave the cave. Not in seeking Morgana's wisdom, but in believing it could only exist by eliminating Merlin's order. Both approaches have value, Luna replied. Structure provides safety, while freedom enables growth. Neither can thrive without the other. As the sun rose over Tintagel, painting the sea with gold and the cliffs with amber light, Harry found Luna standing alone at the cave's entrance, watching the waves. How do you feel? He asked, joining her. Different, she admitted. Morgana's magic is part of me now, balanced with Merlin's. It will take time to understand fully. Through their bond, Harry sensed the change. Her magic was richer, more complex, but still fundamentally Luna. The dreaminess remained, now anchored by deeper understanding. And us? He asked quietly. The bond of crown and staff. Luna turned to face him, her silver-violet eyes meeting his green ones. Stronger than ever. The Eternal King is still needed, perhaps even more so, now that magic flows more freely. Harry considered this. So I'm stuck with you, then? A smile bloomed across her face, the same dreamy, slightly mischievous smile he had come to cherish. I'm afraid so, Harry Potter. For a very long time. He took her hand, feeling their magic sing at the contact. I can live with that. Around them, their friends were gathering, tired but triumphant. The story would need to be explained to the Ministry, to Hogwarts, to the wider wizarding world. Change had come, not through revolution or domination, but through understanding and balance. As Luna had said, it was both an ending and a beginning. The last descendant of Merlin had found her eternal king, and together they had restored what had been sundered long ago. Not by defeating the past, but by embracing it whole. And that, Harry reflected as the rising sun turned Luna's hair to silver and gold, was magic in its truest form. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.